What's up? This is your neighborhood Uncle MeShorn, Uncle Conservative MeShorn. And Jerry, I want to make sure you got my songs lined up. It's supposed to be my new intro and not the national anthem anymore. Jerry, you got that?
I don't know nothing about it, sir.
They said that they loaded it up and said it was been ready for me to play today. It's supposed to be Jay Adams. Please.
No, sir, it's not in here, sir. I don't know. It's not. I have no regulation of that, sir. You're live on the radio with that, sir.
Yes, I recognize, and this is an issue. Okay, this is part of my interest. The character that I'm playing now is conservative Uncle MeShorn. I'm about my business. I'm about trying to handle things. I'm about trying to do the things that I think that is needed based on being age.
What was the song, MeShorn?
The song was called "Please" by Jay Adams. Please by Jay Adams.
Got you.
And so when if you can get that up for me, if you get that ready for me, just let me know. It's a very intimate piece of what I needed to have played and introduced is what I'm trying to do.
You're not gonna try and sing it.
No, man, I ain't gonna try to play. I ain't gonna try to sing. Man. I ain't gonna try to sing it. Hey, what's up, this Ash Joe? How you doing, bro?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic, man. It's just another beautiful week out here in South Florida, and just to appreciate just God's beauty out here when I look at these skies.
You're leaving me out here on my own and everything. You know, and I got to deal with technicalities.
It's all good, man. We got you covered. We got you covered.
Well, listen up. I'm gonna go ahead since my studio don't seem to be having my back there.
Jay Adams, what's the name of the song, sir? What's Jay Adams?
Yes, sir. At Jay Adams, please. You got it?
Keep talking to me, Sean, until I get it, sir.
All right, no problem. So, you know, bottom line is this show has to do about R.E.A.L. I got a special guest here with me today. Is William Eddie. Okay, what's up, man? Welcome to the show with me, man. How you doing? It's a pleasure to join you in the spreading of knowledge in our community. Sir, I'm glad you recognize this song. That means you know MeShorn. 7 years of experiencing how you handle conflicts in our community and how you coach and encourage young talent in our community, man. So it's an honor to be here. Well, good. I appreciate it. You know, the reason why Uncle MeShorn character has been introduced is because MeShorn has captured a whole lot of BS from a whole lot of people who don't understand that in 1990, when MeShorn came out of the military, he didn't know anything about anything other than spent 21 years in the military, taking care of his family, manning up, handling the things he needed to do, provided a means for his children to be able to go to college and do the things they needed to do and take care of his household. And so when he came out, MeShorn decided to become a conservative. Before we go into that, I want to thank you for your service. Hey, appreciate it. I mean, because oftentimes you share your story, but we don't often take the time to say thank you for your service, keep this country what it is, the sacrifices you and your family made. It's part of the fabric of what makes this country great to this day. Yeah, and it's part of the fiber that helps one mature America. They may not like how America came into fruition, but bottom line, America exists. You know everything. America is here. You know everything. And so when MeShorn came out, okay, in 1990, immediately he had to pick a side. Okay, pick a side. Okay, he had to pick a side. All right, he had to pick a side. Okay, and the side that was more comfortable, MeShorn, was the conservative side. Okay, the conservative side. That's all. That was all. MeShorn had no loyalty to either one of them. Okay, but MeShorn had to pick a side. Okay, just pick a side. And when you pick a side, okay, you pick a side and you take the good, the bad, what comes along, whatever that side. And maturity tells you that when you make a decision, you make that decision based on your beliefs, principles, okay, and you believe it's going to help you fulfill what it is that you're trying to. Individual household, individual responsibility of your wife, individual responsibility of your children, individual responsibility for educating your children, individual responsibility to providing means and available so they can be able to eat and be able to have a roof over their head. Individual responsibility making sure that you provide them the opportunity to exist in America, not in Europe, right? Not in Africa, right? So not in boom, boom, whatever, okay? But you provide them in responsibility. Now, you're not trying to offend the people in boom, wah, wah. That's not. If you live in boom, wah, Uncle MeShorn is not trying to offend you. I'm just saying that if you're born in America, okay, and self-preservation is your primary responsibility, individual, okay, then you must find means to provide for yourself, okay? MeShorn became in the military, okay? He became a surgical technologist, okay? MeShorn didn't know, what surgical technology was going to be, okay? When he first went in and what it looked like on the outside. And so in 1990, okay, when MeShorn came out, all right, he learned that surgical technologists in the civilian field pay pretty doggone good. I mean, speaking of self-preservation, hey, that means that, so he got this income from his military, and he's able to come and give surgical technologists that pay pretty doggone good, okay? So bottom line is, MeShorn started realizing that taking a conservative posture, okay, for what he was all about, okay, and what he was trying to accomplish. And he immediately threw the man of principle. I love that, MeShorn about this doctor, Noah Schultz. You know Dr. Noah Schultz. Oh, you don't do it. You got the shirt on, okay? American Slave. Okay? American Slave. MeShorn was introduced to Dr. Noah Schultz. And I say doctor because he got his doctorate from, St. Stephen's, Pastor Cosby gave him his doctorate. And I want to thank Dr. Cosby for doing that. Because Mr. Noah, and I call him Dad, Elder Noah Schultz is deserving of what he laid out in he influenced me with this book called American Little Black Book. And what I want to say to people is that I want to make that book available. You see a book? I want to make that book available. If you were to email, the Man Up Radio, okay? The email is MUR at manupradio.com. Again, MUR at manupradio.com. And if you were to go to our Facebook page through one of our sponsors, God's Lives Matter, and you make a $25 contribution, okay, to this, I will send you, okay, America's Little Black Book on why I have so many on hand. Well, because of America's Little Black Book, I discovered, I didn't know this, but I'm not a Negro. But they called you Negro. Man, I was born in 1961, man. I've been knowing myself as a Negro, black, all my life. And then that's exactly when came along with African American. I had a problem with that. Yes, I really did. I did that. I wasn't born in Africa, okay? So how can I put African before who I am, okay? I mean, I'm not born in Africa. So I had a problem with African American, all right? But Mr. Noah Johnson, through his America's Little Black Book, this show is about keeping it real. Now, Joseph.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And hey, MeShorn, if you can get closer to your mic, that would be great as well. What were you saying there?
Yeah, I said real. We're trying to keep it real, okay? Remind everyone about love. Y'all know, Uncle MeShorn is about acronyms. I know this by now. Y'all know this by now, right? I love some acronyms, all right? That's that military. The military, okay? Military. Acronyms are taught to help you to be reminded of what it is you're trying to accomplish, okay? Achieve. So the military always acronyms. Like, let me give you this acronym. When MeShorn went to space training, he had the U.S. Army acronym that he had to mark with the drill site. U.S. Army stands for Uncle Sam ain't released me yet. I love it. Uncle Sam ain't released me yet. Yeah. Okay? So this whole show, okay, is about keeping it real. Keeping it real, all right? And so Mr. Noah Schultz said that to me, set me down and he said to me after I read the book, he said, there is some problems with us culturally that we are missing how to be astute figures of how to resolve our own issues. Now, let me repeat that because, see, prior to Mr. Noah, my dad, Noah Schultz told me, I had never heard, it's not ignorant, but I had never heard the word astute. You know the word astute means? What does the word astute mean? Astute means the ability to be able to figure out your situation and get out of it. The ability to be able to come up with a intelligent plan or strategy to resolve it, to move forward. And so Mr. Noah Schultz said to me, he said, let me say, right on this book too, it talks about the C course about the human beings who were bred in America to be slaves. Their abandonment, the continuing lack of leadership, and the investigation into the persistent aftermath or aftereffect of slavery. And so what he was saying to me, he said, MeShorn, he said to MeShorn, he said, we lack, he said, our leaders, our men, our community lack the ability of astuteness to figure it out.
Vanessa's in the house.
Hey, what's up, Vanessa? Welcome. Glad to know you're feeling better. You back on you. We're gonna be bringing you. You've been listening to our MeShorn kind of drop a little stuff.
I know you always drop it. But I missed out this morning. I was running.
It's all good. Well, we have Mr. Webben Eddie here, and so you met Mr. George, right? What's your take on it? I'm glad that you asked me about curious case of Dr. R.E.A.L. The first thing I want to tell the listeners out there is that for some time, I don't know if he's still here, but R.E.A.L was based in Louisville, Kentucky. He's still here, so I got to tell you, it is truly a unique experience to have a gentleman like R.E.A.L, a writer, a businessman, a leader of men, be based in your hometown, writing ideas that matter not only to Louisville, Kentucky, but also to the nation and to African Americans who have, or I should say, American descendants of slaves stationed all over the world against our military overseas. So to see this prolific man write several books, the primary book that we were talking about today in American Little Black Book, to have an author write several books about our condition and so poignantly hit the head so that his writings mattered when they were written and they matter to this very day. Even after the age of President Obama, it still points directly to the system and the origin of our dismay to this day. After the age of Trump, reading the America's Little Black Book and some of the other still relevant today. And it's not a good thing. And it's not a good thing. And I'm glad you did very good.
But there's a lot of things throughout history that are still relevant, man, and it is absolutely not a good thing. I mean, here we are after the civil rights movement, and there's too much that's still relevant from then, and it's not a good thing.
And it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. And I'll point out something that I'm seeing in that subtitle that you read. You talked about the after effects. Mr. Capper may agree with me, and there's some other creative people in our listening audience who use software. And one of the basic softwares out there, produced by a company called Adobe. You heard of Photoshop, right? You've heard of Illustrator, right? One of their softwares is called After Effects. Now let me tell you what After Effects does. After Effects is the tool that you use after you created your movie or your video to complete it, to polish, to add special effects, to bring it into completion, right? Did we ever complete the civil rights movement? Did we ever complete the efforts that were endeavored by some of our great leaders of the past? And I'm here to tell you, and the listeners out there who are tuning in and sharing this post and telling other folks to tune in, that we have not completed some of the major efforts that began. I will include that of the Barack Obama administration. Come on. There were doors open. There were conversations started that not only weren't ever completed, we never even fully had the conversation. And that speaks, just like you said in this subtitle on the Little Black Book, that we're talking about a lack of leadership, a lack of full investigation, and of course, a lack of complete understanding of the after effects of slavery. Amen. And civil rights. That's why, I mean, I was MeShorn just bothered me when he told me about the idea that he's always constantly attacked about a choice that he made about being a conservative, and then he was called Uncle Tom. Okay, constantly being told he was Uncle Tom. And at the time, MeShorn didn't know what Uncle Tom's story, so he's always had to go with what people were telling me until he had to unlearn and relearn that it's okay to be Uncle Tom. Because who was Uncle Tom? Let's talk about it. And this is the reason why we're going to keep it real. See, remind everyone about love. I love you enough to tell you the truth.
So
relationship.
So let me ask this question. If Uncle Tom, can be used as a positive thing, then what do we call, for many people out there, they would want to know, what do we call Daniel Cameron?
What they ought to be called? Wait. Now, let me do this.
before you speak.
What do we call Daniel Cameron then?
Okay.
Do we get to create a new term?
Hold up. No. Okay. Let's first stay on track. I'm not even gonna go there.
Okay.
There is a term, okay, that we can use people like, as you want to call Danny Camp, okay, or people that are literally acting against our best interests. Okay, there is a term, but Uncle Tom isn't it. Okay, this is what we want to keep the real conversation. Okay, Uncle Tom is not the term. All right, that's what we want to stay focused on. We'll get to what the term needs to be. Okay, but we want to address real time. Uncle Tom is not it. So explain who was Uncle Tom. So. Heard me so I believe was the author, and if I'm incorrect, y'all need to correct me because I make mistakes on a routine thing. Yes, sir. Wrote a book about a gentleman on a southern plantation. Fictional too. Okay, we gotta add it in there. A fictional character. Okay, which very often we take fictional. Storytelling is important. Let's not get that messed right. Storytelling is very important. However, when you lose sometimes complicated moral part of a story, then you miss the whole point of the story, right? A lot of movies that you watch nowadays. Very offensive because at the time he did not know who was Uncle Tom. Okay.
I don't think most people know.
I don't think most people know. Yes. Thank you. Now, are we keeping it real? This is what this show is all about. Can I keep it real? Keep it real. I can't let it go much further talking about the. We love you enough to tell you the truth. That's what's keeping it real. Remind everyone about love. To love you enough to tell you the truth. So this is my take on General Cameron. All right, Attorney General Cameron. I got to talk about it. Go ahead. I have to. Go ahead. So I use this term soft batch cookie often on social media. Let me tell you.
Hold on, you got to say that.
Hold on, you got to
say that term again one more time.
I use the term soft batch cookie, but don't get confused with what I'm about to say here though. Soft batch. You got your crisp cookies and you got your crumb But guys, Attorney General Cameron was past a hot potato. You hear what I'm saying? He was past a hot potato. So if we have a concern about the nature of what occurred related to that very infamous case with Breonna Taylor and family, right? We need to know that that was a local issue, that local leaders passed to the state because of their collusion, come on, bro, with the problems that we have locally. You keeping it real? So, if any of you soft fat cookies listening have a problem with Attorney General Daniel Cameron, I encourage you to truly look at where that hot potato came from. Who wrapped that potato in the aluminum? Who put that potato in the oven? Who put it all together? Who put it in the oven? And I promise you will get a different perspective. Over the last 50 years, it was not Daniel Cameron who just took off in December of last year. Thank you. I like to see, this is the right reason why I invited you. I'm just saying. Because, see, so many of us get the hot potato. We get the hot potato. Throwing it all out. And then we come up with all types of crap, okay? Yeah. And then when you have the hot potato, make a decision to try to handle it, you still making a difference based on self-preservation, trying to take care of yourself, make sure you do the right thing. It's no longer just a black thing. It's about a family thing. It's about and then you just got a hot potato. and then the two stories are connected. Yeah, very much so. So, MeShorn, Uncle MeShorn, it is my determination that either on the hot potato issues of today, dealing with politics, our soft fat cookies are taking stories with little understanding and talking with little nutrition. All right? With little nutrition. Right. If you open your mouth, if you get on the radio, if you write on social media, if you're talking to children, if you're talking to teens, have something to say. And that is relevant and informed. If you don't know what the Attorney General is, don't talk bad about the Attorney General. Learn a little bit more before you share your opinion. If you don't know what the Commonwealth Attorney is and his relationship with the Attorney General, right? If you don't know who the mayor is, what his relationship with the police chief is, then don't make opinions broadly known because you only are exposing your lack of knowledge. I'm trying to be nice. No. Uncle MeShorn, keep it 100. 100. I love you enough to tell you the truth. You're ignorant. Okay.
Thank you.
Bottom line is, if you don't know how to play the game of politics, you ought to not speak on politics if you don't understand how the game is being played. Okay. We have been deceived in this country, and we saw evidence of that right here in our local politics. Ongoing, which leads me to the next real thing that I wanted to make sure I let people know on Man Up Radio. You listen to what I'm about to say. The truth is, we are seedless, okay? The DNA from Africa. Real talk. We're seedless. A DNA from Africa. But our birthright, our birthplace, and our inheritance, those who want to call it reparations, okay? But the terminology in the 21st century is inheritance, okay? Wealth is in our home in America. Maybe you didn't catch. Can you just recap what I just said? I think I understand. This is real talk. This is real talk because, see, what just took place in this politics and everything, what just took place and everything, there was something on the table that could have changed our whole entire life. But we allow boogeyman because we don't understand how politics is. We allow the boogeyman based on racism, based on the word racism, based on people telling you this, that, and the other. Notice, based on somebody else telling you how to hate somebody else, this, that. You allow something to get off the table for us that we've been talking about, we're trying to get. Let's make it clear for those listening, because I like this. Let me be extremely clear. Listen, anybody out there who likes their cookies on the soft fat, listen to what we're talking about. Birthright, birthplace, inheritance, our home. And our home is the United States of America. Right. If you don't want to be an American, you can leave. Complain. Now listen, I don't want you to leave. Right. Because I believe you should. In his divine determination, meant for us to be places people to be where they needed to be. And not only to be where you're supposed to be, to play a role where you were born. Make yourself an asset and not a liability in your home. So here's our challenge. Two presidential candidates in November made a case to the African American community, descendants of slaves, black folks, Negroes, or whatever you want to say. One said, I'll take you up on the challenge and I'll up the ante. You vote for me, and I will invest in your community. $5 billion. I'll put a number on it. It was $500 billion. Right. $500 billion for the quote unquote platinum plan. Unheard of investment. I'm 60 years old. All I've been hearing, reparations. I never even heard the number. The only thing I knew is 40 acres and a mule. 40 acres and a mule, right? Yeah. You can buy a lot of acres and a lot of mules with $500 billion. All right? So the other campaign took the same concept. It came from Ice Cube in this camp. Y'all know who Ice Cube is. I know there's a lot of saints listening on the radio right now, but y'all know who Ice Cube is. And I'm here to tell you that they said, we'll see. So you got one candidate saying, okay, I'm interested in the deal and I'll bring $500 billion to the table. It's called a negotiable contract on the table. I'm saying, I know politics. I'm a businessman. I got my life insurance policy, insurance license. Trying to get you. It says there was a contractual written in stone agreement on the table. And the great thing about it, MeShorn, was he was the incumbent. Yeah, so he had a track record of giving permanent investments to historically black colleges. Mm-hmm. He took Martin Luther King's home that was falling into disrepair, made it a national park down in Atlanta. Yeah. So that now it's in perpetuity. The federal government will preserve that historic landmark. Right. And he said, I'll bring $500 billion in the next term. A man who has made many promises and kept a lot of them. Right. Like them or not. And has also failed and done some crazy stuff as well. Sounds something crazy, y'all. Sounds crazy. But the key is the federal government is not run by one man. That's right. One man chooses the leaders, and then the leaders execute the strategy, the plan, the policy. Guys, the other side said, we'll see. We'll see. And I'm going to tell you why they said, we'll see. We'll see.
Because they know how we work.
They said, they said we'll see because there are 80 other organizations in front of us in line with them. Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, if some other group stood up and said, we want $500 billion, they say, right away, Captain. But the African American community, that just back to your mission, said, we're trying to explore our birthright, our birthplace, our inheritance, trying to understand our context in our home. We get nothing from the other side, but we'll wait.
No. Let's hold up. We get one thing that's, we get to go in the front of the line for COVID testing because they're gonna label our community as the most vulnerable, right? So we get to try it out first. That's it.
We get to be the guinea pig.
Yeah, we get to be guinea pigs.
We get to be the guinea pigs. Okay. We get to be the guinea pigs. Okay. Yeah, that's a very good.
We didn't want the $500 billion because we already got. Everybody's already paid. Don't nobody need nothing. Everybody's fine. Our whole community is in order, and there's nothing wrong. So we didn't need the $500 billion.
What sarcasm? That's there's sarcasm there, bro. Hey, hold on. This is a show to be real estate. We love you enough to tell you the truth. This is the model of the meeting. Can I share an event that happened? Are y'all saying that what you're all saying is true?
Who's this on the line?
Say it again. Brother A. Who's speaking?
Uh-oh.
Oh, Brother A. Come on, Brother A. What do you have to bring? Hold on, man. You got $500 billion. Y'all trying to get people to drink this Kool-Aid that y'all talking about with President Trump. And I just have to want to drink it. When y'all talked about
And it just got me when y'all talked about Trump and the things his policies do, especially when you talk about the colleges, black colleges. He didn't give them to you. Hey, he didn't support that money for them. Ask the president of the colleges. They will tell you that was a front. What he did was the same program that President Barack Obama did.
Big A.
Yes.
Yeah, Big A, I love you. I love you, Big A. But here's one thing that I understand about negotiating and everything, and this is one thing I'm just, Uncle MeShorn just not gonna get off of. Okay. When I understand the rule of 72, I understand how money works. Okay. And so when you understand how money works, okay, I don't care what all that other stuff. I heard $500 billion on the stage. Okay. And as a person that understands that we are demographic people who broke, who haven't had anything, only number that he had associated to money was 40 acres in the music. Okay. I'm 60 years old. Okay. I never heard $500 billion associated to people who are descendants of American slaves. So I love you, appreciate you, but bottom line is there was a contractual thing, and this is where the reason why I'm trying to keep this real as Uncle MeShorn keeping it real, okay? We lack the ability to be astute enough to recognize what's in our best interest. And the very people who got in our way is a biblical thing that got in the way of the very first man in the beginning. Y'all ain't gonna like this. I'm going here, all right? See, this is supposed to be a Christian state and religious people, okay? And I'm gonna go here.
They changed the rules, MeShorn. It's no longer Christian
I thought it's gonna help you in your relationship. Oh no, that's right. This is no longer Christian. Okay. Well, we got people who call themselves Christians. Listen, okay. So I gotta use the basic instrument believers learning every day spiritually called the Bible. That's the acronym for Bible. Okay. In Genesis, we experience, bro. Check this out. I'm gonna line it all up biblical so we understand. Yes, sir. All biblical. All right. All right. In the very beginning, God told man to name everything, have dominion over the earth, handle his business, and take a wife. Sounds familiar. That don't he sound familiar? Sounds like Genesis. He told that to God. He told that to man. Told that to man. It was man responsible.
Kind of wrong on that, dog. That's kind of wrong. He didn't tell him to take a wife.
No. Just say that again. Say that again.
He didn't. Being biblically correct, he didn't tell him to take a wife. He said it's right for man to have a helpmate.
Okay, not take a wife. He was given a wife. Okay. Excuse me. All right. Fanatic. Okay. All right. Okay, got it. All right. God gave him a wife. But here's the point. God told man all the instructions. All the instructions came to man. Okay. What man failed to do, which I noticed that 2% and 20% of men that tried to get off the plantation, okay, they wanted to get off the plantation. They wanted to do something different, okay. What man failed to do is to do a good job telling the woman, okay, don't talk to that serpent and those people that don't have your best interest at hand because I am your mate. Okay, I'm your mate. Okay, not. Okay. Can I put it in a different way? Okay, just go ahead.
How does that make sense?
Funny. Oh no! Hey, put Big A on ice. This is a grown-up conversation. I'm sorry, bro. This is a conversation. I ain't got time for child play. Uncle MeShorn teaching here. Go ahead.
Let me put it a different way for some of our younger listeners right now, because it's 2020 and the conversation has changed some.
Yes.
And it's unfortunate that we have to. Maybe it's our responsibility to translate these biblical truths.
I wanted this song by. See, did you find my song? Jerry, did you find my song? Jerry?
He's on a coffee break right now. Here's the deal, guys. In going back to
my bailiwick, my experience creatively. If you guys work with a computer, you know of a thing called a pixel. A pixel is they put two words together to create the word pixel. The word pixel comes from picture element. It is the basic building block of an image on your screen, on your paperwork when you print it out. It's called a pixel. Everything that you want to create is the culmination of a group of millions, and now with the advent of HD technology, billions of pixels. In the way that God has created His Word, I like that. In this world that God has created, the family is the elemental building block of the great things that God wants to do through me. Say that again. The family. The family. The family. You can't have, in my description to you of translating what MeShorn was saying, anything smaller than the family unit. Right. The role of the husband and the wife is integrated. And let's be because I'm a very statistic person. Yeah. The natural order of family comes through a man and a woman that produces their children, that create a perimeter around their children to provide a way, and that's the responsibility of who? The man. Okay? So a lot of folks want to look at other elemental building blocks to recreate. You know, we're doing Legos here, and some people want to make Duplo boxes, and others want to bring Tetris electronic games to the conversation.
They're trying to make squares fit in circle holes. Trying to make squares fit in circle holes.
Yes, exactly. It's very well said, and you can try that as much as you want in the other ways. 400 years. There is a fundamental reality that we live in. Right. Now, I embrace individuality. The man upside talks about the individual. Whether that individual is a man, right, a woman, or a person who believes that they are something else. The individual is important. The individual is very important. However, it is the integration between the relationships between individuals, especially in marriage, that has formed the effectiveness that is humanity. Exactly. Now, you can look at it from a God spectrum, or you can look at it from a man spectrum. Right. And if man wants to recreate the wheel and try to make a square or a circle fit into a space where it was designed to go, then we can have that conversation. Yeah, we can have that conversation. But the Bible speaks quite clearly about that being a road to destruction. Right, exactly. Simply put. And as we go on, because I want to always bring my big sister into this conversation as we get into the time of 9:43. All right. We got sponsors that go speak to our sponsor. When our sponsor came through for us, you talk about. I love when you speak about Dr. Frank Simon.
Oh man, Dr. Frank G. Simon. You know, a lot of people don't realize you can actually type in his name on Google Maps, Dr. Frank G. Simon, and it will pull him up. He's right over there off of Brownsboro Road, locally in Louisville, Kentucky, and he is an immunologist. All right. So if you have allergies, or you want to find out about allergies that you may have, then Dr. Simon is your guy. He's also a doctor who has done some tests with his clients and understands the ability to prescribe hydroxychloroquine for the COVID-19. Okay. And he's had much success with that. So if in fact you would like to get that prescription just the same, then you can go see Dr. Frank G. Simon. He is a supporter of the Man Up Radio Show. We also, MeShorn, right? We've got our private alliance partners, correct?
Yes, sir. So our private alliance partners that come through God's Lives Matter. And also, we asking anybody who wants America's Little Black Book, we got copies of it. Why They Laugh. Send us $25 to God's Lives Matter. We will send you a copy of America's Little Black Book by Dr. Noah Jones, which I think is very, very important read going into the new year. It's going to be a very, very important read going into the new year. So go to God'sLivesMatter.com, which is also a
organization that supports the Man Up Radio and everything. So I appreciate that. And so let's get ready to say Great God News by Vanessa. What's up, Vanessa?
Good morning, good blessed morning to you all. I tell you, we got it going on up here. Very good conversation. I do want to say that instead of being individuals, we have to start working collectively. The whole thing about this COVID is to get on board collectively. I'm saying social distance, wear your mask, wash your hands. That is how we're going to beat this thing. And if we're not going to do it together, then we're going to endanger a lot of other people. We've got people here that are going back to China because China's got it together. That is a communist place, and I understand that. But if you're worried about your family and your children, some of these Asian folks are booking up out of here, going back to where it is safe because people will abide by the law. But anyway, moving on. Keeping it real. Wilson Roosevelt German served 11 terms in the White House. He was another butler. He died this year of COVID. He was 91 years old. I don't know if you know that. They make a lot of hoop-de-doo about a lot of people. But this guy served 11 terms in the White House. He came out of retirement to serve the first black president. And I thought this was really cool. The person that got him the job was Eugene Allen, whose life was inspired by the 2013 film, The Butler. How about that?
Wow.
One of the things that I'd like to say for this year, Christmas is not going to be the same as it always. Families need to keep it real. Tell your children that things are tight. No, don't tell them it ain't no Santa Claus. They'll come to know that one way or another. But the main thing is, don't be trying to do what you've always done. We're not living in the same time. Recognize your pocket. Do not hurt yourself. Get on board with making things a little bit different because they are very much different. Another thing that I'd like to tell all of my descendants of American slaves is that write your own history. Take a book. You know, these kids get these composition books. Write your family's names down in. Write your history of who lived where and where you live. And there is always one person that is the keeper of your history in your family that knows it all. If that person dies, what happens to that history? It's lost. That's what happens. Let's not lose all our history. We've got to do and think things another way. And you all are talking about Uncle Tom's and different things as such. The one thing I would wish that we would get back to is what the old people used to say, call a spade a spade. In other words, let your yay be yay and your nay be nay. If you are a homosexual, then be a homosexual and say you're a homosexual. You're not gay. Gay is the word for euphoric feeling. If you are having an affair, no, you're not having an affair. You are an adulterer. Okay? That is the word for it. Okay? You got to keep it real. Okay, I'm through keeping it real. But I did want to also mention before I leave about the boat that was found in Mobile in the river. They the last transportation of slaves to America is found, and it's in the record in Mobile. We've got a lot of people here in Louisville from Mobile area. Our ancestors, those that are claiming descendants of American slaves, can say that their ancestors was probably on that boat. And I can speak for my mother, specifically because she was born in Mobile, Alabama. So keep your eyes and your ears tuned. I'll bring you some more grapevine news. God bless you. Stay safe, everybody.
Hey, thank you, Vanessa. I appreciate you. Grapevine news. And if you ever want to share anything for Vanessa to share, send something to MRU at Man Up Radio. If you want something that Vanessa, you want Vanessa to put it out there, but send us an email. MUR at manupradio.com. And so Vanessa's talking about a book. I want everybody to know, you're going to hear it first, okay, that retired Army Uncle MeShorn is working on his book, okay? It's coming, all right? My whole strategy is going to be out by the end of January. And we about to drop, Uncle MeShorn will drop it like it's hot, okay? It's going to be a story about his life, okay? MeShorn's life starting in Miami and lead all the way up to the end of 2020. You already know, okay? It's going to be an interesting book. So I just want to let y'all know, all the listeners here, to know that there's a book coming out. Hey, brother, you was riding with me in the car and you got an email, okay, on Facebook by someone, because I made, MeShorn made a comment because, you see the same people giving, Democrats props about what they doing and this and that. And MeShorn made a say, it's a shame that we don't learn how to work together, okay? And to Papa saying that, seem like so many people who say they Democrats, they are loyal to the Democrat side, okay? And you saw someone send an email back to me on Facebook, so you want to speak to that?
So yeah, I mean, this, again, those soft fat cookies out there, if you want to turn up your radio a little bit and lean in. One of our community leaders responded to MeShorn's call for unity, MeShorn's challenge of folks who are out there in leadership roles, and the leader, that leader responded that MeShorn's engagement was, they said, lazy. They said it wasn't fair that the community or the movement had called out with kudos and with praise Republicans, and they had criticized the Democrats. Right. Now I don't. Yeah, you don't. I don't. You said, who is this Republican that they gave kudos? That they gave props to. Right. I ain't heard it. They said they gave him a shout out props. That was the quietest shout that I've ever heard. Here's the problem, folks. Here's the problem as I see it. What I'm about to say is not necessarily the opinions of MUR Radio or the radio station WLOU.
It might be.
We have got to bring unity. Unity back to our community. Right.
Exactly.
And unity requires a tent that's big enough for the people you agree with and the people you disagree with. Amen. That's exactly right. Because when I talk about the small unit of element of a man and a woman, men and women don't always agree. Ask my wife. But I can say between you and your wife, y'all represent unity wherever y'all go and however you conduct yourselves. We'll be in the middle of a meeting and me trying to be like, gotta go. I've got responsibilities for my wife, y'all. And that's right. You see it all the time, right? See it all the time. And not ashamed about it. So I'm suggesting for anybody listening who enjoys cookies with just a little bit too much butter in the mix, who cooks those cookies up with a soft fat orientation, I encourage y'all to consider the other ideology that might be conservative, that might be libertarian. It just might shine a light. Yeah, it just might shine a different light on the problems that we can't figure out. We can't figure these problems out because we're looking at them through a very limited lens. Can I give a shout out to a group of people who are talking about unity real quick? Yes, go ahead. 90 days of unity are being called for by some leaders, some young leaders in our community. They're going to make a Zoom call tonight where they're looking for 90 days of unity within the revolution. There's a major change happening in Louisville, Kentucky, where people are waking up to the limits that have been imposed on us. Now, I'm here to tell you that a lot of those limits were imposed by liberal politicians, specifically the Democrat Party. Keep it real. This is a real show today. Hey, call it like it is. And the bottom line is these liberals have been siphoning. Google the word siphon. There was a movie called that talked about a guy using a straw
the milkshake out of another oil baron's land without him knowing about it. And he told him, I drank your milkshake. While we were having our conflict and you were coming at me, I was drinking your milkshake. I was drinking your milkshake, he said. Sucking the life out of you. These folks have sucked the life out of our institution, right? Out of our beloved schools, and they have left us barren and broke. And they've done it in this city. They did it down in Mobile. They've done it in Washington. They've done it in Detroit. They've done it in Flint. They've done it in LA. They've done it in... So I'm just here to tell you guys, it's a new revolution where people are waking up. And to include ideology from various different sources of knowledge that have been untapped right by our leaders in the past.
Absolutely.
Amen. And as that,
you know what I think, honestly,
go ahead, close this out.
Absolutely. You know, just to recap, you know, everything that we spoke about was about taking ownership today. Honestly, when you really look at it, I think that one of the factors in people awakening these days, especially our people, is as they have taken ownership, those that have, they realize, number one, through this pandemic, they weren't hurt. You know, they realized that their lives are getting better because they take ownership of it, regardless of who the president is. They take ownership. I personally believe that I wish we could get away from the ideology or the terminology of Democrat versus Republican and just focus on liberal versus conservative. Because the reality, I think more people than not,
I agree with that.
More people than not have a little bit of both in their lifestyle from day to day. And
I agree with that.
I agree with that.
I think that there's a certain level of unity that we can have when it comes there, regardless of whether or not I may not want to participate in this particular thing that you're doing. You know what? You might be doing something else that I could be a supporter or sponsor of. So we need to get out of our emotions and stop just dismissing things because it says Republican or what have you, and just focus on where we can implant ourselves in a forward movement, especially as we move into 2021. Hey. Absolutely. So, you know, this Wayman, I want to say, Wayman, man, thank you for coming on the show. Absolutely.
This is my website at waymanethics.com. And I'm trying to see if I get Adolf, who just seems to be high hanging in his face up.
No. Oh yeah, I mean, you know, y'all kind of shut me down, but I mean, y'all was talking some stuff, man, that I definitely didn't agree with by saying that Daniel Cameron was passed a hot potato. I don't understand what that means. The brother didn't do his job.
Coming up here shortly, right? We have the Man Up Overload, all right, and that is where we jump in on the StreamYard online, and you guys can check us out and check the conversation out online.
You can come join us and have that conversation.
Absolutely, and we're about to shut it down here on the radio. So,
and I want to thank everybody for being here with us.
Go ahead. Yep. Next week, we've got
I want to thank everybody, so that thank you for hanging out with us at the Man Up Radio.
Absolutely. We'll see y'all next week. Jump online. Hashtag Man
God bless everyone. Take care.
Man Up Radio.
All right, we're about to do this here in a second, y'all. We're going to see if anybody is coming in to participate online. Let's see. Who all? You know, I tell you what, I can do this. Let's see here. What's up, brother?
Hey, brother. How you doing, man? Great show. I love your comment at the end.
There we go. I think right there. All right. I can hear you clearly now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we're gonna see. Let me see. I'm gonna call MeShorn and Wayman.
What's up?
Hey, what's up, man? You live on the Man Up Overload. Are you and Wayman still there?
Yeah, we still here. Are we on? Because I don't. Are we trying to get in?
Okay, well, you live as far as the phone call is concerned. We can all hear you.
Yeah. Oh, you are. Oh, you did. Yeah. Are we trying to do the video? Trying to come on in the video right now.
Yeah, I told Wayman to go ahead and click the link that I sent him.
Not fast enough for video.
His link don't seem to be fast enough and everything on his phone and everything. So I'm gonna try to see if I can get through on mine.
Wayman, does Wayman have one of those Obama phones?
I'm actually using Trump telecommunications.
I don't know what to say about
that. Let's go.
That was cold blooded.
Hey, I mean, you walked into it, man. I had to go there.
It was smooth though. I didn't expect that.
Oh man, it's what is going on, man? Come on.
But yeah, if y'all click the link, then it should give you directions to go ahead and turn your Chrome or hit the 3 dots, because you got to go through Chrome pretty much when you utilize it. But it should give you that option when you click that link.
Oh, it's asking for a passcode at the bottom.
It's asking for a passcode at the bottom. Why is it asking me for a passcode?
I don't know. That's weird. Let me try sending the link again.
Okay, yeah, that's for a passcode.
Yeah, no, there's no. It says the instructions for guests is that. Let's see.
Here, look like. Wait a minute. I'm trying to see if they let me in. Do you see me?
You're backstage.
Okay.
It says I'm backstage now.
Yeah, I don't know how you got back there. I mean, that's
yeah, I'm in there. Do you see me now?
I mean, I see you, but I don't understand how to get you from where you are. Here, let me send you the link again. All right, I'm gonna send it in your text. Okay.
All right.
We need to definitely hold on. Let me see. Like, I see him there, but so John,
Yep.
the conversation today. Did you get to catch any of it?
I did. I caught quite a bit of it at about 30 minutes into it.
Okay, you there?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So there we go. All right. We got y'all there now.
Hey, did you send the 8 off?
Not yet.
Now you got me 2 times. You got me 3 times now.
No, I got you. You're not on the phone.
Hey, but you're coming in with a lot of static, man.
Are you getting static, John? Y'all?
No static. I
nothing
can
but a
hear you
lot of
clear.
static.
Okay, just go out the link, MeShorn, and then come back in.
Yeah, I hear you clear on my end.
Okay, but the conversation, what'd you think about today's conversation?
It has some mixed points that definitely jumped to. I was very interested in the 90-day unity thing. I'm interested in hearing more about that. That's for sure.
Yeah, is Wayman still there?
Yeah, Wayman is here with me. Can you but you still coming up with a lot of static.
It's weird. I don't know.
It's better
I think
now.
it's but that 90 days unity, I'm definitely in agreement with you. I think would be cool because again, focusing on a solution more so than anything else is, I believe, where our strength is going to come from, is focusing on that solution of how we execute working together moving forward. So what you got in your
Can you
green
hear me
drink
now?
today, John? Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Mr. MeShorn. You got to tell us what you got in your green drink today, John.
Okay, spinach, pineapple, some parsley, a little cayenne, and orange, ginger, and I think cilantro's in it too.
Now go ahead, show them that green drink.
Green drink.
All
Okay.
right. So
Okay. Well, you
so
gonna
y'all
have
think
to.
about that. Y'all think about that because John is 94 years old. And, and you see how young he looks. So
Did you send that link to Adolf?
here, I'll send it to him right now.
So guess what? Wayman witnessed it. Guess who I got off the phone and called immediately when I got off the air? Who you think I called? Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you well. I think Joe's probably
Okay.
sent a link. He's kind of frozen up.
I called R.E.A.L. Okay, because I needed to find out why my song wasn't lit up, man. If my song would have been lit up, man, y'all would understand where I was going. That song by Jay Adams, "Please," man, is the new intro, Joe, for us show. It's not gonna be the national anthem anymore. You need to hear. I wanted to surprise you. Let you.
What's the name of the song?
It's called Jay Adams. I mean, the name of the song is called "Please." And
okay, I'm gonna see if I can look it up and maybe play it.
And if you can play
right
it,
now,
that'd be even cool. I mean, I can probably pull it up on my phone and not play it.
It's not Joel Adams, right? It's Jay Adams.
It's Jay Adams, Jay. Actually, I have it on my Facebook page. I have the whole thing on my Facebook page already. And guess what? Now, Wayman,
Yes, sir.
Joe, I want you to hear what happened when I called R.E.A.L. immediately. What happened? What did you witness it? What did R.E.A.L. do?
Hey, buddy, I was about to call you. I'm on that, man. I'm on that, buddy.
Yeah. He recognized that his people again dropped the damn ball. Okay. Again, dropped the ball. And I appreciate him at least manning up and owning up to it because I was ready to get in his ass.
I got to say this, though. I think we're live, right? So,
right. Yeah, you're live. We can talk.
Guys, I've been fired by R.E.A.L. before. When I was a teenager.
Oh, you was fired.
You've been fired by him before?
You don't play with this country.
You was fired by him?
Yeah. I fell asleep. And when I woke up, I didn't play the program I was supposed to. So it was a rightful termination, man. R.E.A.L. don't play all the time.
Yeah, all right. Well, R.E.A.L, I'm gonna give. I see Big A on the line here. I want to give R.E.A.L his props because when I called there, and I literally, Wayman, I was calling it to get in his ass. This was not going to be no nice conversation, okay? Because I was ready. The music that I had ready for this was to set the tone for what I was trying to do. and everything, and they just dropped the damn ball. Okay, but I'm gonna give R.E.A.L some props. Y'all hear me? Before I can get it out my mouth, R.E.A.L said,
Hey, I was about to call you, buddy.
and he said, "Oh, I will make sure this does not happen again." Okay.
I just want to make sweet love. Oh, that's the wrong song. That's Your Body, not Please.
No,
Hold
brother,
on.
that ain't the song.
Can we open the show with that though?
No, man. No, we can't open the song up with that. No, man. Please, man. Come on, man. Find the song. Hey, Big A, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Big A.
Yeah, Big A. I told you I'm going to mention you to be a believer, but you're going to have to follow the process, bro. All right, you out there a little bit and everything. So
Is this it, MeShorn?
mentoring you, huh?
You know what I say? Is this it?
How many children got to die before we wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up? How many times we gotta lose before we break up, wake up, wake up, wake up? How many fathers gonna be gone from their children? Wake up, wake up, wake up. To let the streets go and raise them to be who the live. Please, please, somebody give me an answer. Please, please, tell me why ain't no cure for cancer. Please, please, why these huggers carry more than books. Please, please, somebody take one more look. Tell me, get our fathers and mothers. Fight the blood. When so many of our people still struggling. We the only ones to blame for our problems. If we can only come together, we can solve them. Somebody please, please, tell me why these pastors preaching and teaching. Please, please, if we're reaching out, you will be reaching.
Hey, I'm gonna go ahead and drop that link in the chat there. And Marcus, looks like Marcus Ray wants to come in as well, so we're gonna bring him in.
All right.
I'm gonna drop the link to that song in there so people can finish that up. I know why you love that song. You heard the one part where he said "man up," and then you was like, "Oh, we're gonna play this on the show." But you know what? I can tell you what. I would like to go ahead and play the full song on another show. Maybe your next show, MeShorn. And what we're gonna do
it's our new
is
intro.
well, listen. I want to play the whole because that's a 4-minute song, and I know we can't be playing 4 minutes worth of an intro.
No. We got to play the whole song. You got to have the whole song played.
Okay. All right. Well, here's the thing.
Intro.
That song, we should take each question that's in that song and break it down.
Hey, there you go.
Because there's a question in there for all of us. Why we haven't cured cancer yet. Why our people. But the song is about ownership. One of the things that I think about, even when it comes to something, a broad question like why we haven't killed cancer yet, and we've spent 90 billion or something over the last 50 years. Why we haven't, it's about ownership. That is a question even yet and still about taking ownership.
We're still struggling with even right now. We haven't taken ownership. And hey, John, did you like that? Did you like that song, John?
I couldn't hear it that well. I would definitely like to hear it again, a lot clearer. I couldn't hear the lyrics.
Absolutely, I'm gonna put it in the link for everybody.
Okay.
Okay. It's gonna be our new intro, and I got to be honest with y'all, man. I was just driving around yesterday, and trying to prep. And I was sitting in my car. I got all this music on my phone, and it came up on one of my songs. And I like, wait a minute, bro. I heard it, and I heard him say "man up" in it. And I said, oh, wait a minute. And I went back and played it, and I said, hey, we got to make this our new intro song. And I want to stay with it until we resolve the problems that it's talking about in there, man. We got to bring some attention to it. And so, Big A, you know, go ahead. You wanted some comments to. You was having some.
Yeah. I just want to say that on the show, when you talk about certain topics, and if somebody or if I have a different opinion about it, it's not that I'm not being a grown person in a grown adult conversation. No, I have a different opinion, and I wish to express that opinion. Now, you talked about several things. You talked about Daniel Cameron as being held in a hot potato, which to me doesn't make sense. He's been put in that position. They voted him in that position. He ran for that position, and we expect him to do that job to his fullest, in which we seen that he didn't do his job to his fullest. You had other conversations. You talked about, you brought up a biblical scripture, which was to me was kind of distorted, but I tried to get the premise of what you was talking about. And then when the other guy, which I didn't catch his name, to try to straighten it out, he kind of made it kind of blurry as well. So, I mean, I just can't drink the Kool-Aid that certain people will say, or that you would say, that I'm supposed to be okay with it. But if I can explain myself and I can explain my point of view, maybe that you will understand from a different perspective that, hey, it may have some type of logic to what he's saying.
So go ahead and explain your point of view.
Well, depending on what topic y'all talking about, y'all had several things going on.
Go ahead, Wayne.
You had several things going on. Like I said, my dismay for what y'all was talking about, Daniel Cameron talking about he was put in a situation where he was passed a hot potato. That doesn't have a damn thing to do about him doing his job. He didn't even put on the table.
We talk about this first.
What's that?
Hey. So let Wayne answer your question. He gonna handle.
Okay, that's fine.
You did that day.
That's fine.
That Dan Cameron hot potato seem to be. Go ahead.
Hey, Adolph, I've always looked up to you, man. But my question now is, what kind of cookies do you like? Do you like them crisp, or do you like them soft batch?
Well, I mean, depends on what it is. Depends on the type of cookie.
Man, he froze up on that.
What kind of cookie you like? What kind of cookie you like? Soft batch?
Depends on what type of cookie you got.
I mean, because it sounds
it
like
depends on the type
you like
of cookie.
soft batch cookies, man. Okay, so I'm just going to categorize your opinion as a Chips Ahoy soft batch cookie.
Are y'all hearing me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you.
You're freezing up a little bit, but go ahead.
It depends on the type of cookie.
Guys. No problem. Soft batch. So, guys, when I said hot potato, I meant hot potato, because the question is, let's say that I work, for example, a Ford plant. Okay.
Wait a minute. Why don't you really just explain what you mean? What does hot potato actually mean to you when you say that?
Yeah. Maybe you don't understand.
Let me put it in an example of working at a Ford truck plant, for example.
That you work at.
Okay? You know. Let's say that I put a bolt on wrong that makes a truck roll off of the assembly line and destroy 4 other trucks. That's a big deal, right?
Okay.
So I made that mistake. My boss comes over and is like, wait a minute, what the hell just happened? I need you to clock out, but we'll deal with this later. Immediately clock out, Wayman. Clearly make a mistake. I can smell alcohol in your breath, Wayman. Clock out and go home. My supervisor's pacing up and down the line. The union steward comes down. We're looking at this assembly line that's been damaged. The supervisor decides, you know what? Actually, Wayman got me my job, so I can't decide what the problem is. So we're gonna let my supervisor decide. Then his supervisor decides, you know, I like simple matter decides, you know what? I can't decide what's going on here. Let's let the mayor of Louisville decide what's going on.
Mayor of Louisville said,
at that point, that hot potato is so far away from what the real problem
was.
How can the mayor possibly know anything about what happened on that assembly line and the damage was caused? That is not the job of the attorney general. The attorney general had to be included in the conflict when the local people on that assembly line decided they didn't want their reputation destroyed, so they gave up. And lo and behold, it ends up in the lap of a Republican black in the entire state in an elected position. It was a cop-out. It was a cop-out.
But this is a word that I got to slide this word in here. So, Adol, I said this word in the early beginning. Are you astute enough to understand what he just said?
Oh, I understand what he says. Do I agree with it? Hell no, I don't agree with what he's saying. Hell no. He's the attorney general.
Okay, so
he is the only one that can prosecute the police.
Okay, stop. Okay. John, did you just understand what Wayman just said?
Yeah, I quite understood about the term hot potato. And let me add this into that subject about the hot potato point. Because we have a Jefferson County elected prosecutor that is over this district. And so why didn't he prosecute? So here's what's very interesting that I continue to talk about is that
let him finish his point. MeShorn, please let him finish his point.
The point is that this passing of the hot potato put it in another person's hand that wasn't going to do his job. Here's the thing. It could have also went to the Department of Justice. It could have also went to the feds. It never went to the feds. Here's what's happening in this whole discussion.
It's in the feds' hands now. It's in the feds' hands now.
Yeah,
now it's in the feds.
So I listened to this point about being a conservative, being in the army, and all these issues about what we're talking about. But here's what I have to ask you, and every one of you listening, and those of you who love this country, by the way, they're about to pass some laws to force vaccines on you. They're getting ready to pass some laws, and right now they doctors can stop from your child from coming to see them for any treatment. They're getting ready to pass some laws to stop you from traveling from one state to the next if you don't have this vaccine. My question is, do you love this country enough? Do you see yourself willing to fight this country for violating and taking away your constitutional rights? See, all this shit y'all talking about is just petty stuff that they right now want you to talk about. Oh, they want you all over this young lady Brianna's case. They want you confused over it, right? They want this happening, right? Because we're not talking about the real issue. In D.C., they just passed a law, councilmen just passed a law where they can vaccine your child without parents' permission. You niggas are talking about what? Some bullshit case? They're going to do that shit here too. That's going to be a standard case. It's going to go across America. Who's your councilman right now you should be talking to and calling when that happens in this district? When that happens here, where your mayor going to stand? Where the police are going to stand? Are you willing to fight this country and resist that? That's my question. Because what you're being told and information that you are over right now, all that is just information that's getting you distracted. Man, they're passing laws to take away your constitutional rights. Are you willing to fight that? Would you be willing to fight the government and say, no, I'm not going to let you deny me this constitutional right? That's the question. See, here's the thing, and I found this very interesting. We got a disease out here that has a 95% survival rate.
98.
5%. Let me tell you who the people are dying. People who are elderly and have other illnesses. You know what we're not discussing? We're not discussing a mandate of how to eat better, how to treat yourself better, how to get off sugar, how to get off these carcinogenic, overcooked, fried foods that's got your health bad. Listen, I just lost a friend from diabetic because he got his legs cut off last year. right? We're not talking about your health. So you're really not taking responsibility for your own health. Instead, where we at is we love the discussion of fear. Fear and anger is where we at. Hey, if you're mad at the attorney general, you call him all the names you want, but that's a distraction. They done pulled you in. That shouldn't be the discussion. The discussion should be, man, what are we going to do when this government tramples on your rights? Because it's not going to be the same anymore. It's never going to go back
So
to the same. That's my
now,
question.
so John, you actually, you all talking about what I'm talking about when I go back to history. Okay, what you're talking about is the very same thing that Nathan Bacon's in 1667, when the very first true uh, uh, um, riot took place, when it was Britain and America. They were on the same. They were both in Virginia. It was Britain. You know the story about, this is the story. And I had some American European men brought me to the story. He said that we are in the same. History is repeating itself. Okay, so John, what you're talking about, you are absolutely right. If you don't know the story, you need to go to Bacon Rebellions. Okay, and that story is from 1667. Nathan Bacon. Okay, he caused a riot or a rebellion. Okay, against the elitists. And what happened is that they rebelled against the very thing that they were concerned about that we are experiencing now. Our government or our elitists overreaching their power and their authority. But at the time, it was all the poor people were together. Black, white, poor people, everybody was all at the bottom. Okay. And that Bacon Rebellion was the start where the elitists instituted racism based on, okay. Y'all really need, I'm a medical person. I understand why my medical professional friend gave me this story, because I was telling them about the antibiotics and patients that we have in the operating room. When you're trying to treat a patient, you've got to do antibiotics and everything. You treat them with antibiotics and everything, and you got to find the right antibiotic to treat the symptom. But you got to go back to the original symptom. You can't start in the middle of it. You got to go back to the original. Our original problem started in 1676. Well, John, what you're talking about, we are right. We are at a point in time that our government get ready to impose their nonsense on us, and we as a citizens going to either decide to rebel against it, or we about to get duped. That's where we at.
Right.
That's right.
So far,
if you don't know that story,
so far it looks.
If you don't know that story, you don't know what I'm talking about.
Right.
So far it looks like we are conforming to everything. Yes. And everyone is just, everybody is walking around as if they haven't been watching every futuristic movie that we've ever seen. And,
right.
People like myself, people like John, any of us that are really looking at this thing are getting, because I catch it. I'm getting people throwing it at me like, oh, that's conspiracy theory talk. No, when you really look at it, everything that's happened just within the past 6 months was something that 6 months before that people didn't think would go down. But it's going down. I mean, can you imagine the idea that in Washington, D.C., exactly, your kids have the opportunity to not consult their parents about a vaccine? Are you serious?
Without the parent advice?
That's ridiculous. I if we really want to get political, I think I got an idea of which side handed that down, but regardless, we need to focus as a unified people as to, okay, what's going on right now, because the reality is that, like John is saying, they're trying to keep us confused, because in other countries, when you look at what they're doing, they're focused solely on fighting the government. Their protest is directed towards the government as a whole, the national government. But you're right, John. Local politics is important, and we need to be focused on who our council people are,
Can I jump in there?
which judges are being put in office locally, because again, that's what's going to affect you directly right then and there. And you're right. That conversation, we have to be focused on what we're going to do, because it little by little is happening.
Correct. Let me say this, man. Let me say this. I mean, I understand where John's coming from, but from the premise of the conversation that we had, I don't think he answered the question, because my question was about Daniel Cameron, and when he talked about he had 200 plus years of experience, and he came out and did the same thing that we've been fighting for at least 200 years. No difference. So I understand what John was talking about, where it may be possible where they may force this vaccine on us. But by law right now, they can't force it on us. Just like the vaccine for school kids, they can't force it on them because kids can still go to school that are not vaccinated. So I did see an article on that where they've
already made it legal in DC, for instance, for the kids to already be able to get the vaccine without their parents' permission. So while we over here focused on this, like the great magicians that they are, their sleight of hand, they're doing something else over here.
Yeah, let me up-to-date him on something. Let me up-to-date you on something. It used to be that you could sign a conscientious objective form, like I did my daughter back in the day, to avoid shots. That doesn't exist no more. Exactly. Right now today, if you take your child to go see a pediatrician, and the pediatrician asks of your child been up to date on the shots, they can deny your child today. Right now today, my grandbaby, right now today, her doctor kicked her out. I have to now take her to a paid doctor, where it's a doctor that does not accept any assistance from the government, to where I have to take her to a holistic doctor who don't take insurance, and you have to pay cash. Right? See, so what I'm saying is that you're probably unaware of the laws that are changing right beneath your eyes, because why? We're discussing stuff that my man said, this is the hot potato. They put that hot potato in that black man's hands, so you black men could be mad at that black man, and now we're still over this crazy mess, and right now behind closed doors, your politicians are passing laws against you, and you don't even know it, because why? We're so hot-headed, emotionally mad over a situation that had nothing to do with us.
Thank you.
Man, you said the magic word again, emotion.
Emotion. It's emotion. When you talk about David Cameron and what the police didn't do, or what the prosecutors should have done, you're talking emotions. That's an emotion. What we need to be talking about.
That's law. I'm talking law.
I want to ask you guys.
Emotion. I'm talking law.
No, listen, they're taking your rights away. When I'm asking you a question, when that time comes, where are you going to stand? Which side are you going to stand on? Are you going to be rebellious and rejecting against civil order? Are you going to reject it and say, no, we're not going to send my kids to your schools? No, we're not going to take these shots. No, I'm not going to let you deny me from traveling state to state or out this country because I don't have a certificate.
Absolutely.
A lot of y'all will these shots, because here's the thing. Here's the thing I fear, and my situation is this. See, for 40 years, we had the Tuskegee experiment that ended in 1972. Y'all forget, but a lot of us who are in our 60s or in our late 50s, we understand this concept. They had black doctors to convince black people to go stand in line to get these shots. Black doctors. They got black doctors right now today are going to tell you the shots are safe. And so what I'm saying is, do you really believe in government and what they're doing? And if you do, then you're going to fall right in line with whatever they tell us. And so here's what I'm saying is that the Breonna case, all that stuff is nothing. Those are all issues they're going to keep in your face. There are people here with the Black Lives Movement. There are people who are paid people to keep this in your face, to keep this going on. There are people paid to do that. I hope you know that. Right?
I mean,
So
like
look,
a proud
even though
boy.
that's true, we can't do nothing about that. We cannot do anything about that. But I can't belittle the Brianna case. That is the biggest case that's going on in Louisville, Kentucky right now. That has put Louisville back on the map on all the things that goes on with Louisville. It used to be 48 hours, that police show. Now, the Brianna case, it's across the country. It's one of the biggest cases that's going on.
And how do you think it got there? How do you think it got there? Who's in control of the media that got it there? See, you're not understanding the puppets here, right?
Hold on. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? How did it get there? It was a wrong case. It was wrong all the way through.
I think
when you say how did it get there, of course the media is going to pick up on it and put it out there. So I don't get your point when you say how did it get there.
What it
was
is.
obvious.
Hey, look, real quick, and Johnny Rose said it right on you know, I like to give a shout out to everybody who's online with us commenting. But John isn't belittling the Brianna case. What he's saying is
he just said it was nothing.
No. Listen, in the grand
that's what he
scheme
said.
of things, in the grand scheme of things, it is not important. And if you want to sit back and continue arguing about that, well, cool. But it's not gonna take us, it's not gonna move us forward as a people. It's only holding us and keeping us stagnant, because all we're doing is bickering about it, because that's what we've done for hundreds of years, is bicker about something, and we just run around in a little circle.
We're not bickering about it. We are trying to make progress towards it. It's like y'all trying to dismiss it, and we're not letting it go. People in Louisville are not letting it go.
Now, what progress would be satisfied to you? What progress would be satisfied to you? The officers being locked up? That would be the
all right.
That's a start. Yeah, that's a start. Yeah, I would say that's a start.
Well, let's go arrest them then. Go do it yourself. Let's go arrest them. Come on, let's go.
Right. So what does that got to do?
That don't make sense.
Well, here's why
that don't make sense.
But here's why it don't make sense. Because your emotions is tied up into it. You have an investment into that case. That's why. You are emotionally invested into that. That's why you can't comprehend what they're getting ready to do to you in taking your civil rights away from you, your constitution away. You don't get that point, but that's what's happening beneath your nose. But you don't get that because you are emotionally invested in the Brianna case.
No, dude, it's not that I'm emotionally invested. I'm just understanding the case.
Hey, let's hear from Marcus.
I want to say.
Hey, can we get in here? Hey. Can we get in here?
I don't hear a bunch of dinging yet.
Okay, here, let's all right. Look, we haven't heard from Marcus yet. Let's hear from him, and then after that, we're gonna hear from Wayman. Is that cool?
Well, we talk about fear, and that's exactly what I hear coming from John. He's trying to put fear in people that they're going to take their constitutional rights away. And so in the preamble, right, while we're talking about the Constitution, we're talking about the general welfare of the rest of the country. And so whether you take the shot or not is solely up to you, but they're certainly not going to take that right away from you. And the fear that you're pushing right now is the same fear that you claim that you level against the other side for pushing. And so why don't you just say that that's my right to do that and I don't have to do it? But what's happening right now with the government is about the general welfare. And that's the main purpose of the Constitution, is to promote the general welfare. And so if they believe that that's it, then that may be it. If you don't, then your constitutional right doesn't make you take it. And so to go back and forth with the fear piece is a little bit far for me. And I just had a conversation with the Attorney General yesterday, and I can tell you that he is perplexed about this situation, though he had an opportunity to do something different about it. And I'm not at liberty to discuss those pieces, but there are still pieces moving in this case that aren't
what's your
out of the Attorney General's office.
You want me?
So he was bound by some rules of the prosecution from wine and stuff like that. But, Adolph makes the point that I have the conversation with MeShorn on a regular basis, which is, and John said earlier, or the liberal and conservative is opposite ends of the same spectrum, and we all move up and down it based on whatever that issue is for us. And so I try not to get involved, and I just look at it and say, hey, I'm here today. I might be there tomorrow. So I just think the fear comes from both sides. And you're spending just as much fear about it as you claim the other side's doing when you start talking about them taking
Okay,
real
so
constitutional rights.
Marcus,
They've been pulling the Second Amendment from us for a whole lot of years, and that ain't never happened.
Yes,
Marcus. So before Wayman and Uncle MeShorn jump on and say their piece, tell everybody, if you don't mind, your position as you speak. What is your title? Because you have some conversations with some key people. So what is your title, if you don't mind?
Well, I'm currently the president for the Kentucky State Conference NAACP. If that's what that would be it.
Exactly. Okay.
A businessman. Purcell and Sons Funeral Home in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. We have homes in Glasgow and Campbellsville. I get my piece in for my business. And so I'm a funeral director as well. But my conversation about this stuff is that there are a lot of things that happen around, right? And I, in my conversation with General Cameron, I expressed my disgust with his stance, but also I understood it, having been a policeman for many years, how that could transpire the way it did. And so what I see is that there's 5 or 6 seconds in there where everyone says Kenneth Walker was right for defending his home. Right? Somebody knocks on his door, he doesn't know, whatever happened, they kick it in, he fires a shot. Well, if he is right, those police officers also have to be right, because they were executing what they thought was a valid warrant, and someone fired at them and they returned fire. And so if they're both right in that 5 or 6 seconds, right, just in that 5 or 6 seconds, the fact that they got there and they shouldn't have been and all those other things is a different matter. We're only talking about those 5 or 6 seconds. And how do you, and even if you had presented it to the grand jury, now this is Marcus Ray talking, if you had presented that to the grand jury the way I did just now, I still don't believe you come out with anything. Now, the guy that was standing outside shooting into the house and he was in no danger, that guy they need to hang from the, he needs to be charged with something, because he wasn't in any danger and he had no business firing into that apartment from the outside. And so, and I got off track, but in those 5 or 6 seconds is all I'm talking about. And if I say that Kenneth Walker is right, I also have to say that those police officers were right based on what I've been told about it, just reading about it. And so I wasn't surprised that they didn't get charged, because that's what I was thinking. Now, the things that he put out in his press conference and stuff like that, I think that got it all off track or out of whack.
So,
you know what I'm saying? But I never expected that.
So let me ask this question.
I was looking at it from that perspective.
Okay, so let me ask this question. Now, with all that being said, then right now, when you talk about fear in Washington, D.C., the law has been passed, right? That the kids no longer have to ask for their parents' consent for the vaccine. So is that talking about that? Is that pushing fear or is that pushing fact? Because once one state does it, then traditionally, as it happens with everything around the U.S., the next state implements it, the next state implements it, and then eventually becomes a federal law. I mean, right now, yesterday, we just, marijuana has been, y'all saw what happened yesterday federally. One state implemented it, another state implemented, and then federal government finally said, okay. So right now with Washington, D.C., that's
it's not a state.
That's right. It's a District of Columbia. Okay. With that being said, you've got one district that has implemented that law.
Okay.
All right. I've got family in D.C., so that affects me. So when you look at that, then how soon is it before that becomes law? elsewhere? And is that fear or is that fact?
Well, it's fact that they're telling you have to take it, but it's also fact that it's also a law that I'm supposed to wear my seatbelt when I get in the car. And if I do, I do. If I don't, I don't.
You're avoiding
right?
the question,
So
brother.
I understand that it's a law, but
that's avoiding the question. Come on, answer the question. Is that fear and is it fact? And is it okay to express that fact? Why is it not fear? Because you express fact.
Hold on. The question was, he said they don't have to have permission. The young don't have permission to take this drug. It isn't the fact that they have to take the fact. It was the permission of the parents. That's what the question is. Do they have the right to issue this to the kids, and kids don't have to have their parents involved? I think that's the question, not the question that they have to take this drug.
No, you're incorrect.
Correct here?
No, you're incorrect. The children now can consent. 11-year-old can consent to taking the vaccine without their parents' permission.
Okay, that is the question.
No, it's not a question. That's not a question. That's what they just did. They just passed that in D.C. It's not a question. That's just a fact.
Right. I understand that. But they can refuse it too. The kids can refuse it. They just don't need their parents' permission, correct? They don't need their parents' permission.
How can an 11-year-old refuse something from an adult? You would trust your 11-year-old behind closed doors with their teachers and the principal that they're trying to convince that 11-year-olds, don't you want to be there while they're trying to convince your child?
Absolutely.
Right, and there you go. Then ain't you concerned about that? Well, there you go. That's the point. That shouldn't be considered a fear. That should be a fact that I'm trying to say. I'm trying to explain that this is what they're doing behind closed doors while y'all out here fighting about these other issues. Right now, they're trampling. They're getting ready to trample on your constitutional rights. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. You can call it fear if you want to call it fear. But
you called it fear. I didn't call it that. You did.
No, I didn't call it fear. You said I was pushing fear. And
right. You said the other side was pushing fear, and you said, and so you're doing the same thing. You can call it whatever you like, but you're doing the same thing by saying that they're going to trample on your constitutional rights, and the fear that they're going to trample on those constitutional rights is what you're pushing, not the issue. The issue is different than what you're pushing.
Right. So what I'm speaking of is a distraction to create.
Now I'll go with the distraction.
Right.
I can go with that.
To create the fear. What is the purpose of what you're doing with Breonna case? There must be some underlying motive that you're afraid of, meaning some part of fear of your rights being taken away because a young lady was killed. You putting your energy into that, correct? Because there's something you anticipate you don't want to happen. Isn't that somewhere that in your own energy, there's something that you fears is going to happen? And that's why you put your energy in it. Is that correct?
So what I get, and I don't have my glasses on, what I get, John, is this, is that it's okay if they take some constitutional rights away from me, because the constitutional rights that they're talking about when they make reference to Breonna Taylor, it's okay if they take those constitutional rights away, but it's not okay if they take away others. And so what we're asking from you, or at least I'm asking from you, is that if you're concerned that they're going to take away constitutional rights, then why don't you have that same concern that they're going to, that the constitutional rights that they took away from Breonna Taylor, that they won't take away from you?
Here's why. Because you're not being told the full truth of what's going on about Breonna, for number one. Number one issue is that. Here's the other issue that I'm talking about, is that they're using one issue and they are putting gasoline on it. That's all I'm saying. Listen.
And I don't disagree with that.
Right. So in that point, what I'm saying is there's another issue going on that's now beginning to pop up more and more. And now we're beginning to see it, because I've been speaking on it for a long time. I've been speaking on it ever since the Breonna case has happened. I wasn't involved in it. I'm not trying to push that. I'm seeing something else, just the same as the virus itself. I'm not trying to push that information. What I would rather push is take care of your health. Hey, if you're a diabetic, you need to take care of your health. You got high blood pressure, you eating pork, you eating bad type of foods, you on sugar, you got bigger issues, buddy. If you ain't correct those issues in your life, then you should fear the virus. You should be in line to take you a vaccine. You should stand in that line. You should be the first one to do it, because why you're not taking care of your health. So if I start talking to you about diabetic and is that a fear talk to tell you that you're going to die and lose your limbs if you keep eating the way you eating? Is that fear or is it fact? So if you push it off as fear, you ignore it and you continue to eat the way you're going to eat. You continue to
those are both.
It's still
right?
fear. It's still fear, dude. I mean,
Those are
even how you said, and you so emotionally attached to that, but
right.
It's still fear.
Exactly.
So
look,
I guess
I agree with you.
Here,
You know, I'm working on an initiative right now with the Kentucky Health Foundation for Health in Kentucky, and one of the things that we talk about there is that what are we going to do to help improve the health outcomes for people in our community, and how we go about doing that. And so you're right in that that's the number one issue that we need to be talking about. And the byproduct is that this disease is more susceptible, that we are more susceptible to it because of the choices we've made growing up in reference to the foods that we eat and stuff like that.
Right.
And so when the initial conversations were taking place, they weren't that concerned about it, right? Because they thought it was maybe going to only affect our community more so than others. But with this foundation that I've been working with, we're talking about how do we eliminate the food deserts, and what do we do to get people pre-screenings so that they don't come at the point in their life where they've never gone to the doctor. Now it's too late to do anything for them. Now, granted, a proper diet and some of those other things are important to help that, but we've also got to get the point where the medical care is available to the person that they can go do it. Too many times I see where someone had died from something that didn't have to kill them, but by the time they went to the doctor, it was too late to do anything about it. And so I agree with you that we have to, as a community, we have to address those issues, because if we don't, it won't be the coronavirus. It'll be that, like you said, that piece of chicken or whatever it was that ends up getting us prematurely. And so I agree with that completely. And it is a fact that that's true, but it's also a fact we may have to use the fear of that to get people to move in a direction to say we can change those things. Now, I'm not a big soul food eater, but some people are, and even though they know it's not healthy to take it in excess. And so we have to do some things internally to help adjust that overall. And so I agree with you completely on that.
Brother A, can you hear me? So anyway, that's the issue that I am looking at. I don't get. I would rather have my energy into those areas of dealing with your health and how can we build economically, opposed to what's being put out there. See, I don't trust everything I see on TV or hear in the media. I don't believe everything the government says. I reserve the rights to reject that information and look it up more independently away from what they're telling me, to have my own opinion outside of it. I would rather do that than to trust what this government is saying. So in other words, in so many ways, we believe in this government and whatever they tell us, and we run with that option without addressing. And I always said that there's two things that Black people we don't reject or we don't question, and that's government and religion. When they tell us something, we believe it and we accept it and we move on. Just the same as the Tuskegee experiment, when we got in line willingly to take a shot to give us syphilis. I mean, literally, they was experimenting with us and gave us a disease. It didn't stop to 1972. Y'all was still alive then, right? So this over trusting in the government is just the issue that I just wanted to point out.
I think that when you really look at all of this, because there's people that are going to share, John's opinion, my opinion on both sides of the railroad tracks. and there's people that are going to share. Because it seems like what we're doing right now, we're trying to figure out whose facts make more sense to worry about.
Shit.
You know, and when I really think about it, right now we are on par as a country for 1 in 3 Americans to have diabetes over the next 5 years. We're on par for that. So when you really look at what the bigger problem is, we need to be pointing the finger at our government and saying, hey, y'all not doing right. There's some things, there's some questions that we really need to be asking, but we're not asking those questions because we're focused more so on these, menial local things that aren't going to move us forward as a people. Even as a human race of people, this particular case is not going to move us forward. So what I see moves us forward as a people is to talk about how our government, for instance, is covertly passing laws like what they did in DC, and we are not doing anything about it. But we out in the streets to protest something else that, I mean, honestly, we've been dealing with that, when it comes to the idea of racism. I can either, when I get stopped by the police, I can either decide to be a problem at that moment, or I can decide to focus on the facts and move forward. Again, it's just, it's kind of like, which makes more sense, which is going to move us forward more. Sitting there and being emotional about this, the Breonna Taylor thing. I mean, that's cool. I get it. I understand. I don't want, police to have to be able to run up in everybody's house. But guess what? That law right there, we talk about this vaccine stuff, that it'll create the same problem.
Well, I mean, true enough, the priority, those priorities are on a sliding scale, and whoever puts their finger on the scale the heaviest is what rises to the top of what takes priority. And so the things that John say, in my opinion, those are very important, right? And there's people that still don't take shots that they recommend, for different things. But the only thing I question is, if any civil right is violated, it has the same amount of importance. Now, what we have to do is we have to bring attention to this point that John was making, because this is the first I've heard of it. Not that I necessarily should have, but it's the first I've heard of it. And it would concern me if someone was talking to my child without my permission, because that is also violating their rights. And so, if we're going to talk about protecting rights, we have to talk about them all. And that's a right that I don't know how they get around doing, because that child's not supposed to be capable of making that decision for themselves. And so that would concern me, that they would take and interfere with that parental right for that parent to make that decision for their child. That would concern me.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Well, I thank you for that point. And so you're saying that you was unaware of that being passed. Let me ask you this question. If you was aware that they were behind closed doors making laws right now, like, for instance, taking those rights away from you, splitting you from your child and becoming your child's parent, and not even telling you that they did this, would that be a more concern for you than the one you are concerned about right now? Where would your feelings be more? Where would you put more of your energy? That's my question. Would you put more in what they were doing secretly to take away your children's rights? Where would you?
That right there affects everybody.
Yes.
Not just a local group of people. That right there affects everybody. And I know you're gonna say that the B. Taylor case affects everybody, but the reality is that I would say that the vaccine situation affects everybody as a whole throughout this country more so. And the fact that they're doing it covertly is more of a concern. They just pop up one day and all of a sudden, hey guys, here's the law. Oh man, when were y'all doing that? Man.
Right. So there are in the context in which you put that, you're absolutely right, because what's happening with Breonna Taylor only specifically affects people who look like me. The other case that you're talking about in reference to the shots affects everybody, European American and alike. And so you're right in that context, in that it does affect everybody, while this Breonna Taylor case only affects me, which puts it right back in the same light as everything else that affects my community. Right. So we're talking about it because it is important. But this is less important because it only affects my community. And so you don't get to say that this doesn't affect everybody. It affects everybody who looks like me. When I talk about the systematic pieces of law enforcement and how law enforcement is, that you're right. That doesn't affect everybody, only the majority of people who look like me. But the other affects European Americans also. So therefore, it should take precedence over what we're talking about because it affects everybody.
No.
That's what I got out of that.
No.
Well, but that's what I got out of it because that's the way you said it.
Well, when I really think about it, then when you talk about, again, we got two issues that affect people that look like me and you, right? And then when you talk about the whole vaccine thing, we can talk about health and everything and how it disparagingly affects our community more so. All right. So now we got two things on our shoulders. But ultimately, throughout any of that, then ownership, right? Taking ownership is something that if we can preach to that and focus on more people taking ownership, ownership for the things that go into your body every day, right? Because your body is the greatest asset that you have, and nurturing your body is the most important thing that you do throughout the day, right? But people don't treat it as such. Right.
And I agree with that those are things. I'm just saying that sometimes when we say things, they can come across very different than what we intended, right? Because I could say that's what I got out of that as I'm listening to that Breonna Taylor's case doesn't affect everybody, it only affects a few people versus this affecting everybody. And so I think we just saying that when you look at that, it can be perceived exactly the way I gave it back to you, because that's the way it always happens. And right. and I do believe in ownership. MeShorn and I go back and forth all the time about what we do individually. Now I've got 5 children. And
what's the youngest?
Say again?
What's the youngest?
21.
The 21's the youngest?
Yes.
Okay.
And my point is that I did not, by I guess by grace of God, and I told them that I will never come and get you out of jail because I know I've taught you right from wrong. And if you ever end up there, all I can do is come and visit you on Wednesday because I know I taught you better. Fortunately, I never had to go get any of them. But I was very adamant that I knew I taught them right from wrong. And then I lived by what I said, and they never tested me on that to find out whether I would come get them or not.
Gotcha.
And so I'm a firm believer that you have to take individual responsibility for the things that you do and fail to do. And what we don't do, or this Marcus, right, as a people, I think, we took, and my children were spoiled. I gave them everything they ever wanted because they did what I asked them to do. But at the same time, I did them a disservice because they didn't have to struggle. And let me rephrase, I shielded them from the struggle. And so when at that time she was 16 or 17, the day after President Trump was elected, my neighbor's son called my child a nigger out in the yard. Now, it's probably coincidental because we've been neighbors for years. It ain't never really had no problem. But we immediately dealt with that, me and the father of the next door neighbor. And that could have gone any which kind of way it could have gone. But individually, we knew that you can't turn around and call somebody or use the word nigger liberally on your own and then be upset when someone else uses it too. And so we worked through that, and we're still friends and neighbors today. But my daughter had never experienced that, as far as I know, because she was devastated when she came in the house. And that's when I realized that I had shielded them from that. And they were not ready for that individually to go out in the world and deal with that. So I had to call all my children back together and apologize that I shielded them from that type of stuff. Right. And my point to all that is that we all must take individual responsibility for everything that we do. And if we try to pass that on to someone else, then that's when it becomes a problem. And the state is not the people to pass that on to, right? Though they've attempted to take it from us with child services and all the other crap. But individually, that's my responsibility to my 5 children to make them productive members of society. And it's everybody else's responsibility to do the same. It's not the government's responsibility to do that. And it never will be, or it shouldn't be.
Let me answer a question. Let me answer something you mentioned about, you're talking about 2 issues here. When you mentioned about Breonna, and then you mentioned about taking responsibility. It's very interesting concept. When we talk about Breonna, what we don't talk about is the lifestyle. The lifestyle can attract the kind of life you end up having. Your lifestyle, kind of lifestyle you have, can attract, right? So that's one issue, and nobody talks about the lifestyle that this young lady had before she was killed. No one wants to talk about that. The lifestyle, the boyfriends, the dope dealers, the lifestyle, nobody wants to talk about. So, and what I'm saying about the children, about the vaccine, what lifestyle do they have? This is when I asked you, where do you put most of your energy? You're putting, listen, I've been to prison before, and I understand your concept about your son. And in my criminal activity, had I been wrongfully killed by the police coming in my house and killing me, not one person would have spoke up for me. Why? Because it was my lifestyle. It's the same thing when police came into my home and locked me up. People already knew my lifestyle, so nobody jumped and say, hey, it's wrong. You're doing it wrong. See, the lifestyle brought that into my home. I'm speaking about children who are the rights are being taken away from their parents to make decisions on their own, who haven't had that type of lifestyle. So we're talking 2 different issues. This is why I'm not concerned with the Breonna case like you are. I'm not. I'm just not into it because of a lifestyle. I understand the drug dealing lifestyle. I understand it so much that I understand when drug dealers got 2 issues. You got issues worried about the police, and you got the issues of worried about being out here in these streets and being robbed and killed from other people that want to take your dope. That's a lifestyle you chose. I get that. And you have every right to talk about whether the warrant was real, whether the warrant should have been, but nobody talks about the judge that signed the warrant, the no-knock warrant. No one wants to talk about whose name was really on the warrant. No one wants to, it's interesting. No one talks about whose name was actually on the warrant. Why was she being investigated? Why was she being watched? Why would they have surveillance after her? Why did they have her phone tapped? Why was she still calling, accepting phone calls from her dope dealing drug boyfriend, ex-boyfriend? Why was she still sending money to him while he was in jail? See, no one wants to talk about that because we emotionally hijacked over this one point about a young lady being shot up like that. And I get it. And sorry that it happened to her. It should not have happened. But what I'm saying, when I asked you the question about where do you put most of your energy? So what I'm saying is that what's happening right now, they're passing laws to take away the separation of parent being responsible, that word responsible, for their own child. That to me should seem that would take 80 to 90% of your energy, opposed to the one that's being highlighted to make you look the other way while they over here secretly passing laws. That's the point I'm making. I'm not belittling the case of Breonna. I'm saying just like they talked about the hot potato, they passed that to that man and he didn't do nothing, and black people went crazy. Here's the issue. the white local Jefferson County elected prosecutor. He didn't do nothing. Why ain't you black people mad at him? Why ain't you going in his front of his lawn? Why ain't you going in front of his house? Why ain't you marching in front of his? But soon they give it to the black man. Oh, you're mad now. You see? That's the gaslighting. That's what that is the emotional touch, the fire, the gasoline they put on you. They've been using this technique for years on black people, right? They put this gasoline on you and then they got you fired up. But they pass that hot potato to the black man because you refuse to look at the white man and get mad at him. See how it worked? The Jefferson County prosecutor that's elected. I don't hear nobody going in his front of his house and standing in front of his lawn and in his yard. He right here in Louisville. Right? So they pass the hot potato to the black man and everybody's mad at the black man. I don't get it. That's my point. That's my point.
I agree with I agree with you absolutely there that the Jefferson County Commonwealth attorney backed out of it, so he didn't get exactly where you are. He had two sides to deal with, and he chose to step away. Now, I don't know that I would have taken it myself without giving it to a special prosecutor, independent prosecutor, so that what you're talking about. But the energy that you talk about, I think you have to be able to do both. I really do, because while they are both important, meaning that the issue, the larger issue. Now, granted, when you make points about their lifestyle, every person, and this is what I call it, this just happened to have been the perfect storm between Taylor, Aubrey, and Floyd. I call it a perfect storm because normally within minutes of something like that happening, that person's background is subject and they victimize the victim, right? Or they villainize the victim. So that moves away. Well, in this particular instance, between those three individuals, they couldn't do that immediately. They couldn't immediately do that. And so they knew they had a problem on their hands because they couldn't vilify talking about their lifestyle with the public. So I don't know Miss Taylor, never knew her, and I don't know anything about her lifestyle other than what I've read, right? But in that particular moment, in those 5 to 10 seconds, Kenneth Walker was doing the right thing because he was protecting his property. Those police officers, in my opinion, were doing the right thing because they returned fire after thought they were being fired upon. It is unfortunate. It is unfortunate that Breonna Taylor got caught in the crossfire of that. But if you can't say Kenneth Walker was right and not say that the other two were right. I don't see how you can do it. Now, there are things that go on, on the other side of the door before they knocked on it, the obtaining of the warrant and all those things are outside of those 5 or 6 seconds. And so I've only looked at those 5 or 10 seconds of the whole piece of it. And that's where I draw my conclusions from. Everything else, in my personal opinion, the city of Louisville said, we jacked that up. We're sorry. What is it going to take us to make you feel right? Now, that's just the way I look at it. Because we've done things, everyone has done things that we're fortunate to still be around for. I'm lucky to be alive. Some of the things I did when I was a kid. And I think we've all done that to some degree that says, but I learned from that and didn't do it again. And so I hear you when we say, where do we focus the energy? But I think you have to be able to adequately focus energy on both of those, and not everyone. I may put some people on this piece of it and some people on that piece of it, because they're all important, and you have to divide and conquer sometimes. And so I'm all for creating all the energy around that particular issue, but at the same time, there's a certain amount of energy that has to go around this same issue, and whether we can split those things and keep the momentum going on both of them, I don't know. But if it looks like one is going to fall and the other is not, then we may have to reassess putting energy trying to equally do both of them. And I can't read without my glasses. Let me find my glasses. Hang on just a minute. Oh, I have no, like I said, I have no idea about that either, whether they went to rob them or not. But in the pieces that I have seen, and like I said, I only read what's been in the newspaper, so I don't have any particulars that I could discuss. But if they went to rob them, right, their intel was very bad. It's just would be very bad.
So cool. So, we again, we've got some conversation here that is kind of going in a couple different directions there. Definitely, I think bringing back MeShorn's point is always revolving around taking ownership, taking responsibility as a person for yourself. Because if you get 20 people on a block and those 20 people are all focused on taking responsibility for themselves and their actions, then you got one fantastic block of people that are moving forward in life. And you take that to the next block, to the next block, to the next block. But it starts with individual responsibility. I don't want, personally, when it comes to things of racism. I know when I was younger, I looked at the cops and I had this disdain for the cops. I get stopped, deal with this, that, and the other with the cops. A lot of it, as I got older, I looked back and I said, a lot of it was me. A lot of it was just me, immediately bucking at the officers when, I get stopped. But I do notice that at the times where I did what I was supposed to do, because I grew up in Richmond, Virginia, and I've stepped out of a vehicle at night getting stopped by the cops and looked back and there's 3 or 4 other vehicles back there, like pickup trucks and all that, along with the cops. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm about to die tonight. They're going to hang me in Sioux County, Virginia. But as I did what I was supposed to do, because ultimately I went home that night. Now it's not to say that every person that doesn't go home is not doing what they're supposed to do. But more times than not, we like to use that moment in time as our voice, and that's not the time. But you have the exceptions. Philando Castile was an exception. That man was doing everything he was supposed to do, in my opinion. Now, you can have the conversation about, if his, what was said before the cameras, before the camera turned on.
I was a state trooper for 5 years here in Kentucky, and policing is and then I went on to be a military policeman for another. But I've been law enforcement my entire adult life for the most part, and I will tell you that the main thing that happens out on the street is that me and only me, or I and only I, get to determine whether I'm going to put John in the system or not, standing there on the side of the road.
Mm-hmm.
And so more times than not, you can do everything you supposed to do, but the decision still rests with me on whether I enter you into the system or not. And so what used to happen with me, and I'll never forget I let the gentleman go because he's only a block from his house. He was drunk as he could be when I stopped him, right? And I made the decision not to put him in the system and let him walk to his house a block away, right? Just so happened he looked like me, so I elected not to put him in the system, and I let him walk home. But every day, millions of times a day, that police officer gets to make that decision. And so if we're going to talk about, the things that are happening on the road, now your attitude goes a long way toward how I affect my decision.
Mm-hmm.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some, and there are always going to be some, that your attitude is not going to make a difference, because when they approach you, they already have something else in mind. There's a very few of those, though. But at the end of the day, the police officer gets to determine whether I put John in the system or not, or I call his parents and let him go. And disproportionately, we get put in the system when they could have called our parents.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's simply because of what we look like. And I get that. But I can say with my experience, what got the police officer to stop me, what I did in my life that created a lifestyle that called that stop to me more so than not, versus when I got older, is the lifestyle that I was leading. You know, you drive around on a suspended license, more times than not, you run a greater risk of getting stopped, because in my mind, you know, I think about the universe and what am I putting out there? What am I calling to me in my life? So if I'm riding around on a suspended license, then I'm going to call more of things that are issues with suspended license to me. So as I was younger, I did that, and I dealt with the police a whole lot more. And as I got older, I stopped doing those things. And I made sure that all my papers are correct. I'm not riding around without insurance and things of that nature. I get stopped less. So,
or if you get stopped, the encounter is different because you've complied with the rules and how they're supposed to be, right? And so those things go a long way toward the situation resolving itself peacefully. You know, when I used to approach a car, I could tell by the time I got to the window. Now, it's different in the city than it is out in the state. But I could almost all the time tell by the time I got to the car what kind of encounter I was going to have based on how they looked at me over their shoulder when I got to the window. And you know, you hear people talk about the hair stand up on the back of your neck and stuff like that. You get that feeling. Well, but that can easily be dissipated in that first 4 or 5 seconds of the exchange, right? When I say, "Hey, what? You know why I stopped you?" Right? Which is a question. Well, yeah, I would. No, I don't. Or yeah, you were speeding. You're doing 75 and a 50. You know, whatever the case. In those 4 or 5, 10 seconds, right there, is generally the outlay of the entire how the rest of that event goes. When you stop somebody and you say, "Well, what'd you stop me for?" Right? Then that puts that officer on edge, even though you have a right to ask why you were stopped.
Right.
That makes me take a step back, because I'm gonna tell you if you'll give me a minute.
But I think even in the midst of that, you're talking about a person that immediately is speaking from a standpoint of emotion. They get caught in their emotions and they say, "Why you stop me? You know, oh, officer, what I stop? What I do?" You know, and now all of a sudden the officer is now suspicious because you are on edge and jumpy and seeming like someone that has something to hide.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, again, it goes back to your lifestyle, how you lead it, individual responsibility, ownership, and what you call into your life by the way that you walk through this earth on a day-to-day basis. You know, and ultimately, when you start talking about that, then you know that those are things we need to be teaching our kids. Those are the conversations we need to be having. Is you know, how do you move on a day-to-day basis through this earth? Not how you move as a Black person, but how you move as an individual in general. Right. You know, because character-wise, you know, it doesn't matter whether you white, black, yellow, or blue. Let's just be real. If I'm moving in a certain way, I mean, I got stopped in Mount Washington recently, and it was 2:00 in the morning. And so when that officer came to the window, now I did certain things on my standpoint. I only rolled the window down just a little bit, right? But I didn't have tinted windows, so you know, that wasn't a big deal anyway. But I only rolled the window down a little bit. And when in Mount Washington, y'all know that's what's that county? Bullitt County. And as I rolled that window down in this blue collar residential neighborhood, and the officer, "Do you know why I stopped you?" "No, sir, I don't."
But what did I just say? I said no, sir. Now, not everybody has to say yes sir, no sir, but that's the way I was taught. I was taught to say yes or no. So I say yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am to my parents right now. I'm 42 years old, and I say that. So, with respect to that, even the kids coming up today, they're not taught that. They're not. I mean, I have the conversations about with my ex-wife about that stuff. How the kids need to. When I ask you something or say to repeat, I don't want to hear huh. You know what I mean? I mean that So these are small things right there that lead a person to be looked at a certain way. I mean, when that cop stopped me, the first thing I did before he even came to the car is I took my ball cap off and I put it on the dashboard. I had the mindset, the wherewithal at that moment in time at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I know my house is a couple blocks away, a few blocks away in that neighborhood. And I had the wherewithal to take that hat off, put it on the dashboard. Why? Because I didn't want the stigma. I know how strong that stigma is, and I didn't want to be looked at a certain way. Therefore, I took it off, and I, what? I went home that night because that's all I was concerned about, was being able to go home. My kids are 10 minutes away. I want to be able to go home.
Oh, absolutely. And I think too is that we oftentimes, and I agree that it's sometimes it's emotion that pushes that train. I've been stopped many a days while I was a policeman, and even then carrying a gun in public. I always wore the badge next to the gun, so that my thought was always, I need to give someone else a moment of pause before they pull and shoot at me. Now, this was back in the 80s, so it's not like it was just recent, but back in the 80s. And so I always wore the badge next to my gun whenever I was off duty, so that people that saw this black man walking around with a gun, they had a moment of pause, at least to find out why I had a gun before they approached me or other police officers approached me. And that was in the late 80s. And so it's not any different now, and it's been that way, and it's always going to be that way. But I'll end with this, because my mother has just pulled up and I drove all the way to Bowling Green to see her. I'll end it with this for me, and it's that my grandchildren, I got 6 of them, and they are all biracial, all 6 of them. And when I think about the condition that we're in today and where we've been, I know that tomorrow can only be better, not because not my grandchildren specifically, but someone who looks like them or comes from their background will be running things around here. And then they'll have a unique perspective, having bridged the gap between both sides. And so it may not be today, and it may not be tomorrow, but day after tomorrow, the day after that, it can only get better, because my grandchildren and somebody's grandchildren who look like mine will be running things around here, and they will bridge this divide that we're talking about in the systematic things that happen, because they have a unique perspective on both pieces of it. And so while sometimes it sounds like there's no tomorrow and it's not ever going to get better, it can only get better as we move this thing down the road. It can only get better as we turn this thing over to other people with other perspectives. And I enjoyed my time here, but I came to Bowling Green to see my mother, so I'm gonna jump off here for a few minutes.
Right,
and I'd love to come back anytime.
Just bring back some greens the next time you come.
I don't eat soul food. I told you I don't eat greens, but I'll get you some though.
Hey, bring them back.
All right.
Nice meeting you, brother.
You too.
All right now. Man, so to kind of just, we're gonna go ahead and shut it down here shortly. Vicky Cobble, she says, which ties into what y'all was stating, because you was raised when parents lose parenting rights. And I think that's an important point to think about is when you make a law like what is done in the District of Columbia, to where the kids do not, 11 and older,
they can make their own decision to take the vaccine, and they don't need parents' consent, you're essentially taking away parenting rights. And what usually happens is it's something like that starts in one state and then it goes on to the other, because they're seeing how it goes in that one state. They want to see how the people are going to react.
Yes.
How much of a pushback is there going to be? And being that it's being done in DC, you've got a strong military presence right there. So if there's going to be a pushback, then there's going to be a response to that pushback. With that being said, ultimately, I never want to get away from the conversation of us thinking about how do we, as a people ourselves, focus on our individual movements of moving forward throughout life, and all of that. Because honestly, it's in my thought process, it's gonna happen. Everything we've seen in every futuristic movie, just my opinion, it's gonna happen. Because again, 6 months ago we weren't thinking about this, but now here we are 6 months later, and the idea that they are creating a situation to where you cannot move around if you are not vaccinated. Whether I'm positive for COVID or not, that idea is more and more becoming prevalent as something that is a reality, something that could potentially be a reality more so than not. So for me, the only thing that I'm left to do, you know what? All I can do is just say, hey man, I love you, brother. And let's keep it moving for our own individual lives, keep progressing within our own individual lives, because as far as the masses are concerned, I don't know, man. I don't know, but as we jump off here, man, I know, drop some last word, and then we'll go ahead and shut it down. Know a lot of conversation there to think about, but what's something that is on your mind that you want to say as your last piece before we drop?
Well, yeah, the conversation was great on different levels. We could have probably took a piece and just really focused on that one piece. When I'm listening, a lot of times I'm listening to the energy, and I posted something about the petition. So you're right. Individuals have to be responsible for their individual self. And I think that if individuals look inside their own lives and look at all their issues of what they're seeing outside relates to what's inside, how you roll, how you live your life. Are you living a healthy life? Are you trying to resist certain foods that you know is bad for you? Are you trying to learn how to have discipline? All these things deal with trying to improve your life. Every day you wake up, do you ask yourself, where can I improve my life today? Every day is a new chance to improve your life, to make your life better. I think that if everyone looks at their own individuality, their own self, but the problem is it has to be outside the narrative. And I think that vibration is what pulls us together. If we move away from the vibration of the narrative, and when people are getting into this discussion about the vaccines, there's a lot of Black people that are going to agree with the vaccine and the vaccinations. There are a lot of Black people right now, and have been for some time, allowing the pediatrician to vaccinate their children without any question, without any pushback.
Yeah.
And they've been doing it for years. And so I think that when I saw this petition yesterday, that right there gave me hope, meaning that there are people that are willing to see this for what it is and fight back. That's the vibration that I would love to send. and connect to those who have the will and willing to speak out and not keep their mouth shut to what they're doing. Those who can see it, those who can't are not going to see it, and they're going to agree whatever the government says, and they're going to continue to push the fear of the possibility of you getting sick and you dying from this, and you're not looking at, well, who's really the ones that are dying, and how can I improve my health? The brother said something I really like, where he's a part of some initiative that's dealing with looking at Black people's illnesses. We have the highest diabetic. Listen, we eat the way the Eurocentric people eat. We get sicker than they get. Diabetes is high blood pressure, and hypertension is highest in our lifestyle because we're eating Eurocentric type of foods. That we have moved away with eating more green food or earthly foods, right? So they're taking these things away from us. And so now they got us eating their type of foods, and we get sick the worst. We first ones get sick. But same thing with this vaccine. Who's it going to kill most? It's going to kill Black people that has the bad health. It's going and vaccine. And let me tell you this: they have never proven that the virus killed anyone. But they have told you, they have just tagged it as the virus because they had it, but they really died of other issues that led to their death. And we're not talking about how to improve your health. This is the vibration I would prefer to be a part of, and not a vibration that is limited and only pushing my emotions towards that. And again, I want to say again, each and every individual, you vibrate what you vibrate into your life. It's yours. Do you allow someone else's lifestyle vibrate you into their life? Or do you allow your lifestyle vibrate those into your life? It depends on what you're vibrating, what you're thinking, and where your thoughts are every day. If you wake up with doom and gloom, if you wake up with fear and police fear, guess what you're going to vibrate? Every time you turn on TV, you're going to see police brutality. You go on the internet, you're going to see police brutality. You're going to see it no matter where, because that's what you are tied to. But if you begin to think of abundance, health, wealth, you're going to attract that, and you're going to become less attracted to things that has nothing to do with you, that can't even grab your attention. You'll become less attracted to it.
Man, for me, the ability to, I mean, you see the stuff, you know, a lot of times I send you, John, you know, I'm always dreaming, you know, I try to focus beyond myself. I try to put my mind beyond myself, beyond where I am now, because really that's the reality I'm trying to get to. That's the reality I'm trying to create. So, you know, even as when I'm sitting here working, you know, on the computer, taking calls, headset on, you know, I've got, you know, the I am affirmations in the background, you know, because that's you know, I got it playing low volume. Why? Because it helps. And I see the results from, you know, one day when I go without, or one day when I go with, you know, I see the results. You know, I'm more productive. You know, so, you know, with that in mind, for me, you know, that works. You know, I the first thing in the morning, doing that, looking at you know, $40 million mansions, and looking up Dubai, and the, you know, just forward thinking for me has created more productivity in my life, and ultimately emotionally I feel better in general. And I feel like when people are feeling better emotionally, then their productivity is greater. You know, that's the reason why companies throughout the US have embraced having gyms in the business, because when people are feeling better emotionally, their productivity goes up, you know. So but you're right in that respect. And I think that it's just very important. You know, what's that movie I tagged you in? What the Health?
Right. What the health? Yes.
My gosh.
Very important.
My gosh.
Yeah.
If people have not seen that, because I've seen them all. Food Inc. You know.
Yeah.
Food Inc. I became vegetarian the day after, literally.
Wow.
and was vegetarian for about 4 or 5 years, you know, straight up and down. I was, and now after watching What the Health again, you know, and I've seen all of them, Fat, Sick, and Ugly, whatever that one is. That was another one about a man's juicing journey and how he lost the weight. But what was amazing is watching in What the Health how these people, there was a couple women in there, they showed 2 different women who went on a plant-based diet and stopped all their medications, or they used their medication but went on a plant-based diet, and after 2 weeks was no longer on all their medications. Now, I deal in life insurance, final expense specifically, and
wake up call.
Man, absolutely. There are people, I talk to people all the time, and even when you start talking about the value of health, even with dementia, you know, I mean, 40% people who die of Alzheimer's disease, for instance, versus people who die of natural causes have 40% more metals found in the brain than people that die of natural causes. So where are we getting that stuff from? We're getting it from the food. You know, how things are packaged versus metals like mercury and others that is found more prevalent in the foods. Yeah. So when you look at that, you know, how we eat is playing a big part. And the relationship between food manufacturing companies and pharmaceuticals is like this. That right there is a bigger conversation than anything, because while we over here bickering about this, that, and the other stuff, and we bickering about it while we eating, right? You know, we bickering about it while we got them snacks, while we eating that food, whatever. That right there, we dying off as a people faster, eating that garbage.
Why is that?
Because they put crap in the foods. I mean, think about it. Go anybody go right now. Go home and look at your juices. Okay, people get faked out when they grab a container of juice. Instead of they don't realize the difference between 100% juice versus something saying a juice cocktail. There's a difference, because that juice cocktail, you turn it around, it's gonna say 12% juice on the back. Well, what is the other 88% there? What you saying?
Let me say this, Joe. Let me say this, and I think John will agree and understand where I'm coming from. The reason why in black communities, or black neighborhoods, I should say, I don't want to say communities, black neighborhoods, where you have these shops where they sell potato chips, they sell all
rat
types
chips.
Of different type of snacks, type of foods. Yeah.
Rat snacks.
The thing about this is, why does whole food cost so much for your health? Why does whole food cost so much? And when you have finances that you don't make $35,000 a year, or you don't make $50,000 a year, those foods are acceptable. Those foods are accessible. You can afford that, and yes, to feel that hunger pain, we'll go to Indies. We'll go to all these small restaurants and do that, because we don't financially, we don't have it. But we will not go to Whole Foods and buy certain foods, mainly because it costs a lot. It does cost a lot, but we don't look at our health issue though.
Let me say this first and foremost. Number one, Whole Foods is not your only place to go find Whole Foods. Okay, your regular grocery store. How about we get through that first? How about we focus in the vegetable area more so? Because guess what? Meat costs more than those veggies. Okay, so when you look at the cost of something by weight and pound, meat costs more. Now, here's the thing. Fiber is something that is found prevalent when you start looking at unpackaged real foods, I should say, raw fruits and vegetables. Now, what's fiber's job? Fiber is to slowly assimilate sugars into the bloodstream, but fiber also helps to keep us full. So what's lacking in all the packaged foods that we're eating is fiber. That's one of the number one things that's lacking is fiber. Now, go home tomorrow morning when you eat breakfast. Hey, guess what? Eat 2 medium-sized apples. Guess what? That's gonna hold you over till lunch, right? Because of the fiber content. But the problem is that you can't take that apple and put it in the microwave. It ain't gonna make sense. Therefore, we were subjected to this thought process. You're not gonna take that apple and put it in the skillet, right? We got this idea that in order to have breakfast, it's got to be this certain thing that's been advertised to us, you know, as opposed to you just saying, grab an apple and eat it. You know what? My dad was diagnosed out of 12 samples taken a year ago. One sample or a couple samples came back positive for prostate cancer, right? Now, the doctor said, we'll see you in a year. Why? Because it was so slow moving. Why? Because he's got a relatively fantastic diet, right? He eats predominantly raw fruits and vegetables. What he did, he didn't change anything. You know, loves chicken wings. You know, that's his particular vice. What he did was he added more raw fruits and vegetables to the diet. So as I see him here in South Florida, every morning, without fail, it's a green juice that he drops in the Vitamix blender and drinks that. So when he goes back this year for them to test, they're not going to find those traces of cancer cells anymore. They went out and bought an alkaline water machine. Now, when you start talking about cost, guess what is interesting when you start looking at cost, even when you start talking whole foods? When you eat more fibrous foods, you get full more. So what that means is that you can actually buy less. We buy so much more because we don't get that fiber content in the processed foods, and we're not getting full as much. We have to keep eating, and it's by design. They created it that way so that you can keep going out and spending more food, and so that you can get hooked on those medications. They don't want people to die. They don't want people to live too long. They want people right in there in the middle, continuing to live their life off medications. That's what they want. And so that movie, that documentary on Netflix, What the Health, fantastic, because it brings that tie together of the pharmaceutical industry and the food manufacturing industry and shows you how that tie right there, that's so important. These are things that are more important to me ultimately. You know, like we said, I'm sorry the Breonna Taylor situation happened. You know, and I was in support of people just the same, helping as much as I can. But the fact of the matter, like my man Frank Stoner says, hey, eat real food, you get less hungry. So it really doesn't cost more. There's a reason why Whole Foods baskets are smaller, because you don't need that much food. When you're eating the right things, you get full better. You get full more.
He's muted. Tell him to unmute himself.
Hey, you gotta unmute yourself. Okay.
Okay, I got you. I don't know about that because everybody has a different type of appetite. You know, you have your appetite is different from different people who eat more food or less food based on the activity that you do, because you're
okay. Eat 3 apples instead of 2. I mean, I'm just saying.
I agree with that. And unfortunately, right now, I'm at a place I shouldn't be at, but I'm kind of here right now.
We all are. This pandemic has pushed us there.
No, I'm talking about right now. I'm at Krispy Kreme donuts. Oh. I'm ordering some Krispy Kreme. So contradictory what we're talking about, man. I'm breaking a rule.
You can drive off right now. Hey, look, you haven't given them any money. Just drive off right now. I dare you to drive off right now. Hey, even on Facebook, on Facebook right now, they saying excuses, bro. They saying excuses right now on Facebook. Just drive off. Just drive off.
Guilty. Bro, I'm guilty. I'm going to prison right now because I'm in line actually, and that's why I'm putting myself on mute. I'm ready to place this order. I'm sorry, dog. I'm going under, man. I am going wrong all day long, but I'm ordering not only for me, but for some friends too. I'm taking people with me.
You know what? It's all good. Just take it home. Slice that what is it? Donut. Slice that. See, I ain't been there so long, but slice that donut in half and put a burger between it, and you know, you'll be right in line with the standard American diet.
But to what you say, man, how many black families have access to fruit in their house, like an apple? How many you think do fruit.
EBT buys it. I mean, you can buy fruit and vegetables with it just the same as anything else. So,
but it's not desired. It's something. It's not pushed. Families do not.
You know why? You know why?
Like that.
Because look at this right here. What my man Frank said. Cancel cable TV. We don't need the most expensive clothes or shoes or cars. But with respect to canceling cable TV, guess what? Get your mind off that stupidity. That's what's infecting you. That's what you talk about desire. Well, that's what's got you desiring the wrong things. Is because of what you're looking at, what you're taking in your mind. Did you know that the colors? Did you know that the colors yellow and red
together
are colors that make you hungry? Psychologically, they are colors that make you hungry. So think about that as you drive down the street and you see Taco Bell and you see Burger King and you see McDonald's and you see these big companies out there, and they use those colors in their main advertising. They make you, those colors make you hungry. So as you're driving down the street, you're not even focused on it. Yep, there you go.
Red Lobster?
More red color. Red Lobster, that's a whole nother thing, but
listen,
go ahead.
Let me and brother A, let me ask you, and I want to ask you a question, but I want to point something out. That it's the lack of discipline is where we
agree.
You see
100% agree.
Right. Here's what we're called on. You were born into a sugar world. Your first addiction is sugar. Was given to you by your mama if she ate sugar and you was in the womb. You came out crying and wanting sugar, right? Everything in the food, if you look at the ingredients, has sugar. But look, most important, do you know when you eat starch, the body turns that into sugar? That's what it do in order to absorb it into the bloodstream. It has to convert it into sugar. But look at this. We're eating foods that is insulin resistant. What that means is that the insulin, you're eating food, the purpose of the insulin, natural insulin, is to lower the blood count before it goes into the bloodstream. But if you're eating insulin resistant food, your pancreas don't stop sending insulin because it doesn't get a signal that it sends out enough, so it blows out your pancreas. But most important, you're also eating foods lacking nutrition. And you can be full. If you eat food lacking nutrition, you're going to stay hungry. This is why you see people overweight. You're like, you still hungry? You just ate a big ass meal, but you didn't. You ate a bunch of garbage that wasn't nutrition.
Whole bunch of empty calories.
Right. So Joe's right. If you eat a lot of greens and the right real food, you won't be that hungry. It'll last you longer and you won't find yourself hungry again because you've eaten food that has nutrition in it. Your body is starving nutrition. If you are overweight, your body is starving nutrition. If your body has to pack a sale or pack in some stuff that it can't process, it doesn't send it through the normal process, guess what it do? It says, okay, I can't deal with this shit. Let's store this shit in the hip. Let's store this shit in the thigh. Let's store this shit over here in the ankle. And it stores it away in your body, and your body can't process it and get it out. You can't burn it off because you're eating food lacking nutrition, and your own body rejected and didn't know what to do with it. This is why people are overweight. You're overweight because you're eating lack of nutrition. You're eating garbage. You're eating shit that's just going to clog your artery and hang that's it.
Like Frank says, foods with no digestive enzymes.
Right.
But
that donut,
at the same time,
donut you're eating that you're craving, it lacks nutrition. It's not going to fill you up. It's not going to give you.
Watch what you say now. Watch what you say now.
for every one donut,
it's just going to fill your gut. It's just going to fill your gut, and your body don't know what to do with those cells. So it stores it. It doesn't eat it up. Your body has a nutrition. Listen, your cells in your body is after certain things that it wants in it. And those things are in green food. Those things are in natural foods. Your body recognizes real food, and it doesn't recognize food that is synthetic. So what it does, it says, I don't know what this is. And so it stores it. It can't even process it through your digestive system. It can't do it.
It was in the fat cells.
It stores it in the fat cells. And this is where the illness
I
comes
ain't got
from.
much of that.
It creates what is called a acidic body. Your body's acidic. Inside your
Right.
stomach is acidic because you're not eating natural foods. And so when your pH balance is off, you got other issues that's coming in your future. You got other issues.
So now what happens is you just created an acidic environment in the body, and now you are more susceptible to other diseases. Now, how it affects each person is going to be different. Some people it's going to affect them as cancer. Some people it's going to affect them as stroke. Some people it's going to affect them as diabetes. Right now in our country, the way the numbers are going, we are on par for 1 in 3 people in America to have diabetes. That's amazing when you think about it. 1 in 3 persons in America to have diabetes. Good Lord, I've got to go buy some diabetes stock.
Wow.
I mean, for real, like I need to find some insulin companies and all of that. So, you know, investment companies need to create a diabetes investment portfolio because, you know, we are on par to, you know, for people to make some money. I mean, hey, I'm not taking the vaccine, but I got Moderna stock. You know, hey, you know, stock jumped as soon as they figured out that Moderna would be an easier way to distribute. Stock jumped.
Wow.
So, you know, again, like my man Frank says, conversations we don't want to have, and that's the problem is, and that's why, you know, conversations like this are the conversations to me that are going to push each individual forward the most. Yet that's not the conversation that's pushed in front of us nationally.
Hell no.
So, you know, when you really think about it,
Damn, just got a phone call. But at the same time, it's a conversation that we don't talk about. Do we let the schools determine our nutrition value? I mean, kids are not today brought up on a lot of vegetables. I know when I was growing up, yes, I didn't live in the country. More country people are more apt to be brought up on vegetables and fruit. But being an inner city child, you're not apt to be brought up on vegetable soup. Everything will come out of a can, whether it's spinach, whether it's peas, whether it is green beans, lima beans, anything that comes out of a can, that's what I was used to eating. I wasn't used to eating asparagus. I wasn't used to eating beets. I was not used to eating cauliflower. Broccoli, yes. Cauliflower, no. So part of the environment in which we brought up in is passed along and is continued to pass along. Seeing fruits and vegetables being grown out of the garden and eating it from the garden, we just not used to, and we just don't do. I mean, and I will say that I am one of the products of that. Anything that was brought in the can that came in the house, my parents fixed, I ate. Things that was grown out of the garden, we just didn't eat those type of, like squash, like eggplants. Those things that come out of the garden, we didn't eat. Now, do I know the nutritional value of those? Probably not, because I wasn't brought up with it, and I just don't know because I didn't eat it. I didn't acquire the taste.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
That's the problem. There's a whole lot of people. There are a whole lot of women out here that are pregnant that are eating crappy ass food, and the baby don't have a chance when it comes out into this world. It's already addicted. And so you're a product of the problem, because while you lack the discipline to cut yourself off from things, you actually know it's bad for you. Here's the thing. You don't think this is addiction. You will eat something you consciously know it's bad for you. That says the power of that drug.
Hold on. Isn't that what just happened? Didn't we just witness that as he stayed in that line? He stayed in that line, and he knew it's bad. You know, and look, I this is why I love, you know, being able to see things like this new film, What the Health. It's reinvigorated, you know, being around John Yard has reinvigorated my love for raw fruits and vegetables. I'm trying to focus going back there more. Now,
here's one thing that needs to be said. If you just take 2 weeks and focus on a plant-based diet, here's what happens. Because he's talking about what he desires, what he craves, this, that, and the other. The more that you do something like eat raw fruits and vegetables, the more you're going to crave it. You know, so because what happens, when you go back to eating regular food, you start noticing things tasting too sweet, things tasting too salty. You start understanding, your palate begins to understand the taste of real food. Therefore, when you look at grabbing a strawberry and you notice it having that tart flavor, well, yeah, because that's real strawberries. That's how they taste. Not the little syrup stuff that you get when you press the strawberry button at the soda machine in the gas station. No, that's not the taste of real strawberry. Not the pineapple button when you press that at the gas station for your drink. No, that's not what pineapple really tastes like. So again, it goes back to training your palate to once again understand the taste of real foods. And as you begin to consume that, if you just take 2 weeks and go, if anybody, I challenge anybody, take 2 weeks, go on a plant-based diet, and you take 2 weeks, and ultimately at the end of those 2 weeks, you try to go back and eat some regular food. Not only will you probably throw up, but you will notice things tasting too salty, too sweet, because your palate has been retrained to understand the taste of real food. When you look at a strawberry, there's more vitamin C found in the stems of the strawberry than in the actual fruit itself. You know, one of my partners said the other day, because I used to do the health demonstrations with Vitamix Corporation, he said, bruh, ever since I seen you do that and talk about that, I've been eating it the same way. I just rinse off the whole strawberry and I eat the stem and the fruit. And he said, people look at me like I'm crazy, but the nutritional value is there. The way we've been trained is to take the heaviest, healthiest parts of the raw fruits and vegetables, cut it off, and throw it in the garbage disposal. Throw it in the trash. That's why Dr. Mayo, the Mayo Clinic, said if our garbage disposal had a digestive tract, it would be the healthiest member of the family, because and remember, when you cut off those heavy parts, you paid for that by the pound. You should have cut it off at the store and then bought it. But
hey, I didn't get the sound, man. My sound went out when y'all was telling me about the canned goods, man. So could y'all kind of like give me a repeat what y'all was saying?
Well, I'm gonna say this is what I'm gonna talk about. What Joe kind of jumped on was about the 2 week going on a vegetable diet for 2 weeks. Listen, your body's gonna go through a detox. If you ever, even if you just try to stop eating sugar, just start reading your labels and staying away from processed sugar. If you see the word sugar on there, don't eat it, don't drink it. Try your best to do that. Your body will go through a detox. You're going to start having headaches. You're going to start feeling very irritable.
Because in the brain, your brain goes through the same thing, the same withdrawals as what happens when you take a heroin addict.
Right.
Or any person off of drugs. Your body goes through the same withdrawals as trying to stop eating sugars. You want it, you crave it, you gotta have it. You end up at a Krispy Kreme line getting some donuts from Krispy Kreme in the morning.
Quit it, man. Quit it.
And so like she posted here, you can retrain your palate in 10 to 14 days, but you're gonna go through a detox first. What is the detox? The detox is your body saying, okay, now we're seeming to clean shit up. Let's go and get rid of this shit that we put in 2 or 3 weeks ago or 4 or 5 months ago. Now let the body now work on the shit that it stored away that it couldn't process. That's what the body does. So it's going to make you sweat. You're going to have some night sweats. You're going to be going through headaches and going through some things. But your body, you got to go through the process, because detoxification is the part where your body is trying to heal itself. You should welcome detox. You should welcome a cold, or no runny nose, or a sweat. Those are forms of detoxification. So we call them colds, and we'll take some pills and we'll take some stuff over the counter to dry our nose up. But we only drying up the toxins that the body's saying, trying to get it out. Your body has several mechanisms to get rid of its toxin: through the nose, through the mouth, through the urine, through the anus, and through the skin. These are the ways that the body is trying to process something out of it. You need to know how your body is a machine. You don't treat it right, you'll fuck it up. It ain't gonna last you long. You ain't gonna live to be 90 and 100 without any illnesses or without being on some type of pharmaceutical.
Hey,
You either there now or you're headed there. Seriously. So you
with what
got
you
to allow
said,
the body to process itself out, the garbage, to detox all this stuff, to replenish your cell. And I guarantee you, in 4 days, 3 to 4 days of detoxification, your energy level shoots up.
hey, you know what? Now, what type of vehicle you driving right now, brother A? Because I'm gonna speak to what John just said.
Jeep Wrangler.
Okay, what type of gas do you put in that Jeep Wrangler?
Oh, I'm just gonna put unleaded in this joint.
I mean, you don't put you put premium in there, or?
No, 87.
Okay, all right. So
it's the lowest grade that requires.
Okay, so for instance, my stepmother here has a Porsche, right? Now
right.
It requires premium. That is the fuel that will allow it to work to the best of its ability. Now, you can put regular unleaded in there, and it'll work. But like John said, eventually it's gonna break down because that's not the fuel that's designed for it. Now, when you give it the fuel that it's designed for, that was designed for it, then guess what? That vehicle will work to the best of its ability. So it's the same way with our bodies. You know, Adam and Eve were not put in front of the line at a Krispy Kreme. You know, however you want to believe, whether it was Adam and Eve, whether you want to believe in it was being monkeys, whether you want to look at Elohim, whether you want to look at 5%, whatever you believe, we got here. We started out with raw fruits and vegetables. And so ultimately, as we were created, however that creation came, we were designed and created right there with the fuel that is going to allow our body to work to the best of its ability. So, you know, ultimately, that's it. Raw fruits and vegetables, man, that's it.
Hold on. Let me say this, man. By living in America, we're only limited to certain and have access to certain fruits and vegetables. We do. In other countries, they have a whole different type of plant life over there, in which we cannot bring here, we cannot grow here because of the environment and because of laws, certain agricultural laws. Now, let me say this: other countries, they eat certain foods that they live by. Americans, we are brought up mainly on bread. Bread is a standard stud in our meals. Right?
Yeah, because the pharmaceutical companies run everything. Yes, that's why. Okay, go ahead.
Bread is a standard in the meal, and it's been like that. It's been in America for I'm gonna say at least 100 years. Other countries they use rice. Rice is the staple of their meals. All right. Mexico. My brother went to Mexico. He's been going to Mexico off and on because his job's sitting there. He says he can eat a steak and eat a lot of other foods. It doesn't have the preservative in it, and he said yes, he gets full, but he's not gaining the weight. He says not weight because it goes through his body. Here we eat steak, we eat all the stuff that has processed materials in the food and additives. We gain weight. We gain a lot of weight from that. But what I was also going to say too, also, is that as you get older, your
metabolism.
But it's not your what?
Were you trying to say metabolism?
Your metabolism, yeah, that determines a lot of how much you're going to eat based on your metabolism. Because when you're young, you burn that metabolism. You need that energy to supplement whatever you're doing, whatever exercise or whatever job you're doing, whether you're jogging or playing sports. Your metabolism burns high, and it burns off a lot. Now, when you was talking about certain things that you take away, let's say the baked potato. We eat baked potato. We don't eat the skin. The skin is where the nutrients is. That's what I'm told a lot.
I love the skin.
All right, but a lot of people don't eat the skin. A lot of people, when you bake the potato, you eat the inside and don't eat the skin.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying, but
let me ask you a question. What's the point in your thought about other countries having access to other foods or plant life?
Because their nutrients and their bodies is accustomed to things in their environment.
in this country, and in your I would say in your bet honey. The bees, the honey in your area is more healthier for you than honey that's processed coming from another state or coming from other cities. It's the local honey that helps your immune system that makes it better. But they don't advertise that.
So I'll tell you this. Yes, the local honey is better, but honey in general would be better. And I can say this as a person that moved to Louisville, Kentucky from South Florida, where I didn't know anything about allergies. And in 2005, 2006, 2007 I came in 2005. By 2007, I was at the doctor with watery eyes and all this stuff, not knowing what's going on, only to find out that I have allergies. Okay, so in 2007, I started in December of 2007 as a representative, contractor representative for Vitamix Corporation. So now I'm traveling all over the US and I'm showcasing how to use this Whole Foods juicing machine, throwing raw fruits and vegetables all in there. And honey was a staple of our sweetener. Now I'm getting honey in all different states. So when the summer of 2008, right now I done had allergies for the last 2 years. The summer of 2008, I was well into the summer and totally forgot about the fact that I said, hold up. It went off like a light bulb. I said, hold up, I don't have any allergies. And I went back and I looked and I researched and I said, oh, it's the honey. So honey in general helped my seasonal allergies go away. And so now I can tell if I'm at any point living in Louisville and any allergy stuff going on, all I got to do is look at, okay, I'm low on my honey intake. So that's when I start doing my teas and you know, getting my smoothie game back up and using my honey. So again, I mean, I grew up with parents that when we didn't use sugar. And so when we wanted Kool-Aid, because we go to our friend's house and everybody had Kool-Aid, they finally caved in and they said, all right, we'll make Kool-Aid. So they took the Kool-Aid package and they used honey to make it. Tastes different than the friends, but guess what?
Got that right.
It was cool. It was good. It was more adapted to our palate anyway. So, you know, with respect to that, you know, I use honey for a sweetener if I have coffee. I use honey if instead of taking a spoonful of sugar and putting it over my cereal, I drizzle honey. You know, instead of anything that would traditionally be used as a sweetener with using sugar, cooking foods or what have you, I use honey personally. And then sometimes I'll mess with your agave nectar when I can get a good quality agave nectar just because of the glycemic levels and when I'm cooking for the masses. So, you know, with respect to that, then it doesn't take a rocket scientist for any of this stuff. Everything that you may say, Brother A, you know, in opposition of any of this, or maybe just to explain, you know, how a person got from this point to that point. Again, it goes back to personal responsibility. You know, I mean, when I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease at 21, you know, it was through personal responsibility as to why I never had to do any surgeries. When everybody else I know with Crohn's had to get intestines cut off and they walking around here with a colonoscopy bag. No way in hell. You might as well, I can tell you right now, you can shoot me. Colonoscopy bag? Nah. I'm not walking around with a doo-doo bag on my hip. Right. So, you know, but I avoided all of that because when I went vegetarian and consumed raw fruits and vegetables in a 100% bioavailable liquid form predominantly for a matter of years, it allowed my intestinal tract to heal from the inside out.
Wow.
So ultimately, they don't push that.
No.
Now, I was fortunate to have a doctor, a gastro doctor in Louisville at Jewish that said, and I would tell him these different things. And he said, Joe, if it makes you feel good, go ahead and do it. If it makes you feel better, go ahead and do it. So he allowed me that space. But that's because I came to him with information. Most people don't do that. Most people will get punked around by their doctor because they don't go and do any personal research. And you should. It's your body. Your body is important. It's the biggest asset that you have on a day-to-day basis. Why would you not do the research? when it comes to your health and wellness. Don't make sense. But we've been pushed to believe that the hypnotism behind those white coats means everything.
Right.
You know, I mean, hey, and sometimes when I would do those Vitamix demonstrations and I felt like, you know, the sales wasn't going as well and I was at a trade show or something, guess what I do? I go put on some scrubs. All of a sudden, everybody was over there.
Wow.
Why? Because psychologically, they felt like I knew what I was talking about.
Oh, wow.
I can see that. I can see that. So let me ask you, Joe, have you, you or John, have you ever had your test for food allergies? Have you ever had that test to find out what your body can accept and what it can't accept?
No, I haven't had a food allergy test, but let me piggyback on the honey thing. Is that honey is actually like a vaccine. What bees do, bees eat the pollen that you are allergic to. So they eat it, and then they regurgitate it back up. It's a vomit, and that's how they make honey. When you eat the honey, you're eating that nectar. Now, when you come out into the world or you come outside, that nectar now will have less effect on you because you've been eating the honey.
So that's how an immune food, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And that's how the vaccine's supposed to work, correct? Is that how the vaccine's supposed to work? They give you a sample of it, and your body's supposed to build an immune to it, so now you can handle it. Is that,
that's how vaccines work.
That's been like that for the common cold, right? The common cold,
right?
You get a
that's
shot.
How it's supposed to work. But here's the thing about that misinformation. Okay, so and this it may take I don't want to take too long on it, but the viruses that we have that's coming out now, these are viruses that are continuing. In other words, if it ain't H1N1, it's the swine flu. Each year there's a new virus. It works like this. Each virus has a string of the virus before.
Right.
Each virus has a string of the virus before. So then, therefore, if you had the virus before, you have that string in your body. So now you got a new virus coming with just the same strings as the old ones. So if you take a person and you put them away for 10 years and you put them in a bubble, and they never got none of the other viruses, touching stuff, putting their hands, breathing stuff in, to build your immune system for the new virus that's coming next year. When you let that person out of the bubble, they'll die when they first get that virus because they missed 10 of other viruses to build their immune system up to get ready for this virus. This is how the system works. Your immune system has to work like this. It always has to be challenged in order for it to get better. It will not get better if it's not challenged. Your immune system works like that. There's a thing called megahertz frequency that they are able to put on your body to determine the frequency of your body in this inside of its immune system. If your immune system is 72 or above, you don't get sick. You don't get ill. If your immune system is 60 or below, it starts with first common colds, all the way down to cancer, all the way down to death. If your megahertz frequency is around 20, you're on your deathbed. So what I'm saying is viruses and the immune system is a building process. It's just like working out. You keep working out, your muscles get bigger, right? Over time, you get stronger. You can lift more weights than you could the week before. That's how the immune system works. So if you deny yourself the immune system to be able to, it's supposed to take stuff in. You are supposed to take in the germs. This is the part of the process of life. Your body is able to process that. Your body's man, listen, the human body is magnificent. The only thing you have to do is feed it the right fuel. It will take care of itself. I swear it will. And listen, check this out. Do you know when you have night sweats or hot sweats, people call them hot flashes? Your body is really trying to detox and get rid of something you don't know what's in it. It's already in the process that you don't have a clue what it's doing because it has its own mechanism that's more intelligent than you. Literally, the body is more intelligent than the human brain when you start thinking about what you were told to put in your body. Your body knows this ain't right for you. It's going to tell you it ain't right. It will try to give you a signal and tell you what ain't right for you. But if you ain't paying attention, you won't hear it. The body's intelligent as hell.
And for all the church folks out there, God knew what God was doing.
Yes.
Right. And to your point, man, have you seen the movie The War of the Worlds? Did you ever see the movie The World War, the original one?
Original, well, yeah.
Yeah.
What happened to the creatures in that movie? How did they die?
They died because of what? Something they couldn't get immune to?
The water. They were trying to drink the water. They couldn't eat the food. They couldn't take. Their bodies were getting sick. And to your point, I get that.
Yeah.
They died because they didn't have an immune system to take in everything that Earth had. And as they were trying to destroy Earth eventually destroyed them because of the immune system that this foreign entity did not have.
Correct. Exactly.
So I get that as far as science-wise, I do get that. You do have to have an immunity in your system that protects you for the things that are in the environment.
Or was it that the food was too toxic for them to eat?
That's probably right.
It's another way to look at it. Hey, think about this. Think about the fact that you go to the zoo and they have a sign up that says "Do not feed the apes." Right? Now think about it. You got a 400-pound ape, and you can't feed it human food. What is it that is so harmful in human food that a 400-pound ape could not eat, that it might die because of that?
I don't know. I don't see it that way. We don't feed the animals because they don't want the animals to get aggressive. That's how I say it. They didn't want the animals to get aggressive. When you start throwing food at them,
they care about them animals way more than they care about you. They don't want the animals to die.
Right. Hey, here's the point. Do you know dogs can get diabetic, be high blood pressure, and be diabetic? Do you know why? Because you're feeding them table food.
Yep.
I know that's bad.
Yeah,
I agree with that. That's bad. They don't process it.
Those animals, those dogs take on the same lifestyle. I know people who have heart disease, and their dogs have heart disease, and they have heart disease.
Right.
I know people with cancer, and their dogs have cancer. And guess what? A light bulb ain't going off in them people's heads yet. Damn.
Right.
Yet they take a plate of food and they treat the dog like a child, like it's their own child. Think about it. When you look at most of our foods, lunch meat and other things, and that's another thing that's amazing about the What in the Health documentary. They point out the fact that a lot of these foods are category 1 cancer causing carcinogens, just the same category as cigarettes. Yet cigarettes have the Surgeon General warning on it, and you can't consume them unless you're at least 18 years old. Yet we feed those same cancer-causing carcinogens that are in the same category 1 as cigarettes are, to our children that are under 18. I mean, think about that for a second. Because you know why? It's the fact that we continue to call the processed foods that we eat food, and by definition, they're not food. They don't nourish the body in any way. So believe me, I watched that yesterday, What in the Health, and yet again it reinvigorated me. My dad and my stepmother are examples of people who I look at and I say, man, they out here, they exercising, they eating, making raw smoothies every morning, you know, and focused on living a healthier, longer longevity life, man. And you know what? I look at that and I'm like, okay, you know what? Let me tighten up yet again. So I'm about to push back from the table and get more of these raw fruits and vegetables in my diet more than ever before. So definitely that's going to be something on my agenda. And then the next time you in a line at Krispy Kreme, Brother A, I'm going to come. You're going to see me pop up and I'm going to just smack that pack of donuts.
Do that.
Damn.
I do that. I deserve that. I definitely deserve that. But the challenge is you got Christmas coming up and everybody likes to eat that Christmas ham. Everybody likes to eat more food during the holidays.
Listen,
you got New Year.
If 80% of the time you did the right things, you can actually afford. Notice what I'm saying. You can actually afford to do the wrong things 20% of the time.
if 80% of the time you're doing the right things.
Okay,
And see, that's
I
the
agree
thing.
with that.
Most people have not afforded the ability to do the wrong things, because when you do the wrong things predominantly, not only are you hurting yourself, but you're hurting us as a people and a country through healthcare costs and things of that nature. So when you really want to dig down into it and you start talking about personal responsibility, well, just eating the right foods versus eating garbage is affecting us all as a people in general, because now we can start talking about waste. Look, just watch this. Hey, you know what, brother? Watch What in the Health on Netflix. All right,
I'm gonna do that.
Watch that.
I'm gonna do that. Have you seen the movie Sicko? Michael
Yes.
Moore. Sicko.
Yeah.
That's a good movie.
Yes.
What about 30 Days? What about 30 Days where the white guy ate McDonald's for 30 days, every day for 30 days? Did you ever see that movie?
Yep.
That was a trip right there.
Yep.
That was a trip, man.
Yep.
Well,
And that's all he ate.
Well, what we have to do is we have to quit making excuses of why we can't eat right. It's just that simple. We have to quit making excuses. And I talked about this in a lifestyle. I said, you know, if you die of a heart attack, the question is, what was your lifestyle? If you died of heart disease, if you died of kidney disease, what was your lifestyle that brought you to that death? Would you agree that lifestyle is your responsibility? Would you agree with that, A?
Hold on. Yes and no. And the reason why I say that is because some people get cancer, throat cancer, and never smoked a cigarette. There's certain people that get certain
Hold on.
do not.
Come on, bro. First off, that's predominantly lung cancer and mouth cancer when you start talking about smoking a cigarette. All right, so that's number one. Number two, breast cancer, stomach cancer. There are cancers all over, and the predominant reason for that cancer is the acidic waste that your body cannot break down from the processed foods that you're eating. But
if you don't, I had a guy to come to work. He says that he lives off the farm, eats nice fruit, and he was diagnosed he had cancer. I mean, he had heart disease.
Come on, bro. Come on, bro. You don't know the specifics of what that guy's doing and what's going on.
That's my point.
That's what he claims. And
right.
He says he doesn't smoke, doesn't drink.
Right. Here's what I'm saying, and people can say a lot of stuff, but you're not following their whole lifestyle. What I'm saying is that the way you are living is by your choice, willingly or unwillingly. Whether you knowing these are your choices or you don't know that you can affect these choices.
Okay.
Willingly, unwillingly. My point is this: is that if a person has high blood pressure, diabetic, or he's got these diseases that it's always mainly according to a lifestyle that he's living. You see, a cancer cell is automatically in your body and able to become a cancer cell based on your diet. So if you're breathing in toxins from the air, but your body's not detoxing it out because you're not eating the proper foods, well, guess what? You can never smoke in your life and still get lung cancer, because you're not eating right in the first place to remove the toxins. Joe talked about metal. Let me tell you something about mercury and metal in the brain. If you don't know that cilantro and certain vegetables like certain herbs like cilantro and parsley and herbs like that, watercress, remove heavy metal from your body to help you detox. So then you can make the claims, but you have to look at the person's diet. So here's my point I'm making. My point I'm making is this. If you look at individuals' life, no matter how they're living, right now, you can sum it up based on how they were living before they had that issue. You can always trace it back to what they're living. This is why they can take your DNA and say what your problem is and what your problem is going to be because of the way you're eating. Would y'all agree with that? So if you believe that, then listen to this. When people have a lifestyle, they draw upon them that wrath. Whether it is the way you eat or the way you walk. If you're around a bunch of drug dealers, if your lifestyle is about the life of drug dealing, well, guess what? You're subject to being arrested or you're subject to being robbed by dope dealers. Wouldn't you agree that lifestyle brought you into that?
I would agree.
Okay, then if you agree with that, then have you really looked at Breonna's case and how her lifestyle brought that to her door? That's how her
No,
door.
I
She
think there's a
was
disconnect.
involved in dope dealing from the very start. She was constantly getting phone calls from a dope guy that was in jail, sending him money. Her lifestyle brought her that issue.
Can I get
No,
in
no,
here?
I
Can I
disagree
get in
because the police went on a false narrative. They went on a false narrative.
Can I get
They
in here?
broke into the house and they went to the wrong way. And then that's how I see it. It's
False
it was
narrative.
wrong from the
She
get-go.
was
Can I?
involved in drug
Can I?
dealing. That's not a false narrative. She had a
That's not.
drug
Yeah,
dealing
that's not a false
lifestyle.
narrative. Can
Okay,
I get in
let's
here?
say that she
Hey,
had a
hey,
drug dealing
go,
lifestyle. Did they
hey,
find any drugs in her house?
No,
No, they
not
didn't find any
true.
drugs in her house.
yeah.
Did they find any
Hey,
drugs on her? No. Did they kill
hey,
the wrong person? Yes. That's not my
Gay.
problem is this. They didn't bring her to justice. They didn't do no justice. They killed they took the girl, they took the girl's life.
But that's
And
but
there's
that's
no
not the
Can I
point.
get
accountability.
in here?
Yeah,
Can
go
I
ahead,
get in here?
MeShorn.
All right. Whew, Lord. I made it home. Okay. Y'all on the line still, and I see Big A still, holding on to what he's holding on. So I just want to jump on there where I know that John, y'all, you are very I've come to just respect your ideology from your science, and I respect that. I have a lot of I'm in the medical field, so I work around. I've been in the medical field for 40 years, so understand what I'm about to say, John. You are on point on a lot of your science ideology, point of views, and what you stand on. I truly believe that. But there's one thing that all my professional people that I work with and everything still say, that a belief, the mind that a person believe about themselves, the way that they think and everything, it can supersede all the science in the world. Okay, it can change everything based on
Absolutely.
how people think and believe about themselves and what they want out of life. And you are on point when you talk about lifestyle. Your lifestyle attracts what you into. Your mentality attracts what you into. Okay, it all comes back to you. And so all these people that constantly wants to blame everybody else for what happened to Breonna Taylor, I'm just gonna say, and I don't mean no disrespect to anybody and everyone, but Adolf, I happen to know the inside track on a lot of that over there, okay? Because I'm in the medical field, okay? So that means we involve. I mean, listen, man. I happen to run in some very precarious company, all right? And I happen to know the police officers and some of the people. One of the main reasons that you must understand why Damien Cammy, he was green, but it was a hot potato that should have never been brought to a person that was so as green as him to handle. But they gave it to him for a reason, because it was passed on from everybody. If you didn't understand the method that what the man was talking about, the hot potato using the hot potato that started in Breonna's, the reason why she was even sent there, would it be because the police was sent there? Here, what y'all need to know, the chief that retired. I'm getting ready to say something very and Adolf, you know the chief that just left with Man Up. We know him. We work with him. Guess what, brother? I just want you to know something. He retired, left, and got out. They said he was forced, but he left. You know why he left, Adolf? Do you know why?
Why? Go ahead. Why? Yeah, I think he's watching, but
okay. You know why he left? Because
why?
His police officers, they was gonna be if he didn't leave and everything, it was gonna come back on him, man. Somebody gave the order to go do what they did, and it came from the mayor's office. This thing stems all the way from the mayor's office down, man. It had nothing to do with just the police chiefs, okay, the police officers. All the people that was involved with this thing, the chief left. The mayor office already decided to give out $20 million. It started with $30 million. They dropped it all the way down to 12. Yeah, all the things that was in place before the verdict came down for Damon Cameron was already decided before Damon Cameron even made his first conversation, because all the people that was already involved with this, and that's the hot potato. That's the hot potato. While you sitting up there whining and crying about Breonna Taylor. Breonna Taylor is excuse me, hey, I'm a military guy, so we got to see things. We got to see things for what it is. She is a victim of her own lifestyle choices. She brought it on herself. Does she deserve to die? I'm not saying that. Okay, don't get me twisted. I'm not. Don't please. Don't put no words in my mouth.
I guess ultimately what is being said is that if you go and swim in the ocean with sharks, then don't be
You
mad
will
if
get
you get bit
eventually.
by one.
Yes, you. I mean, listen. The only reason that what I notice about the reason why my life is the way it's at, and John, y'all, this is why I love about your science. 1990, when I decided to go and become a conservative, I tracked that. It had nothing to do with anything else. I just tracked some conservative views. My thinking, my mentality, my beliefs attracted me to certain things that I really did not understand how it was working for me, even though my children had benefited from it, my everything, until 2020 happened and all the things that happened. And I really realized that, damn, 30 years of doing what I'm doing, look where they put me. Why? Based on what you're saying, John, my lifestyle, okay, my thinking, my beliefs, and everything put me in a position to be able to sustain something that other people who didn't have no clue is kicking their ass. Okay, do that make sense? And we have grown men that constantly can't seem to get that, and that's our problem. I see that there's a problem with us as men culturally. Our women are not going to continue turning to us when we don't even know what the earth's going on, man. And that is what's going on. And that's why our women, that's what I'm saying, our women, I'm not mad at our women who decide to go find some men who are going to take care of them, do the thing, because all of our men don't seem to know what the hell they doing, okay? I'm not mad at another woman who decide, I don't agree with it, but if you want to turn to another woman, that's what it be, because you find yourself, hey, do what you do, okay? It's on you, okay? It's your thing, okay? But if you need someone to feel love, you want somebody to love you and treat you and take care of you the way you need it, because you can't find it in a man, and okay, you can't find it, I ain't mad about it, okay? Mad, let it do what it do. But I'm not ever going to be mad at another man. This is what I'm going to leave. This is what I'm leaving on. Man, it was, Andy, y'all all would have loved Andy. Andy helped me with this. He really did. He really did. He was a blessing in my life. When I shared with him about what happened when I went around to these Lebanese gas stations, all this, and learned about these different men from other cultures, Andy told me, he said, why should we ever be mad at another man who's found a way to make it in America, in a country that we don't seem to know what the fuck we're doing? Why should we ever be jealous and mad at another man who, and if you never sat down and talked to another man from another country and come over to America and find, if you've never done that, I have multiple times, if you've never sat down and talked to another man and hear what they're saying about us, I'm just saying what they're saying about us, okay, it's an eye-opening, man. It caused me to really realize that other cultural men look at us like punks, weak, sorry. They despise us, man. They don't even really want us to be associated with us and everything, the way that we constantly represent ourselves. But when I got a hand on that, and Andy and I, we talked about that, man, and John, you would have loved Andy. Andy was straight. He said, brother, stop hating and being mad at another man. Come to America and find a way. You need to find your way, okay? You need to get your act together. And then find out how y'all can sit together and learn how to break bread and keep going and love on another man. Keep it up. As long as he's not stopping you from doing what you need to do, you don't stop him from doing what he needs to do. By God's, and move the hell. Keep it moving. Does that make sense?
Yes, it did. Man, very good point. Very good point.
Yes. Yeah. So anyway, man, I love y'all, man. And
love you too, brother.
Tell y'all, I got a phone call from this makes my day. I had to call it. That's the reason I got Mr. Brooks, a European male, He's in the insurance business and investment business too. The one that helped us get that private alliance, little dollars and everything. He called me. He said, MeShorn, that was one of the best shows. I said, what made it was one of the best? He said, because y'all was talking real about the responsibility that your men need to take responsibility. He was excited. He was like, wow, he said that Wayman was on point. Then he also cracked on Adolf. He said, I don't know what that Adolf was. he said, I don't know what's going on with him. He said, but y'all show was on. I mean, that's the beauty that makes me feel good about what we do. When you have other cultural men that knows what it is to navigate as a man, seeing that we're trying to be men handling our business. That's all he was saying. You are men trying to tell other men how to handle their business. Am I right? That's all.
It's all good, man. It's all good. Definitely, that's the narrative. I do agree that we, a lot of us will see things differently. But there, in this country, there seems to be a backwards movement where men are no longer men, and the women are taking the forefront in that space of a man. And when you look at it, you have to ask yourself, there's no, I mean, again, nobody's saying, and I think that's where people miss it, is they think that when people are talking about the original, the original family or the original family structure, people think they were saying to dumb down a woman. No, I'm highly believe in uplifting our women, because I mean, again, they are the birthers of this world. With respect to that, men are soldiers. We're there to protect our women. We're not there to hurt our women. We're there to uplift them and to work with them, not work against them. Today, what we're seeing the woman and the man working against each other, because we've bought in to this ideology of the two-person tax system in a household, and we've gotten away from our individual responsibilities in the household. So it's just what we're trying to talk about is taking responsibility from all angles, even as it pertains to health and wellness, just the same.
And let me say before I get off here, the thing about the DC, I did tag everybody in on a petition to be signed what was going on in DC. Let me correct something real quick. They passed the law by the councilman, but it sits in front of the mayor's table to sign the final bill for it to pass. So right now there's a petition out asking the mayor not to sign it. So let me be clear. It's not actually passed yet. It was only passed by the council people, and now that bill is in front of the mayor's office right now, and that's what the petition is for, to sign it to help the mayor reject that bill.
Okay, so there's still a chance, is what you're saying.
Still a chance, exactly. Still a chance.
If the people can buck up against that now, in the idea of children being the responsible party of whether they take a vaccine or not, if the people can buck up against that now, then ultimately they know that they're gonna have to try a different way or go a different route.
Correct.
So that's a good thing. So we need to. Is that something that everyone can sign, or is that something that only people in the District of Columbia have to sign?
Anyone can sign. Yeah, the post. Yeah, I posted it. I tagged you in it. Anyone can sign it. Yeah.
All right, man, brother A. Make sure you enjoy those donuts, man.
Quit it, man. Quit it.
Anyway, I got to get ready to roll out, brother.
All right, now. Hey.
Peace out to everyone.
Appreciate y'all, brother.
Discussion, man. Appreciate meeting you, A. And see y'all guys next week, man. What you gonna say, MeShorn? Was you gonna say something?
I just wanted to say that Adolf, make sure those soft baked cookies and everything,
Those are
you
soft
good,
baked
man.
donuts. Those are soft baked donuts he got.
Peace
I
out,
hold
y'all.
you on that.
All right, now y'all be easy.
All right.
All right, y'all be good, man. Later.
Hey,
All right.